Yo, we've been waiting on this our whole life. You subs are my homies. Let's make this show happen. Oh, hello my chunsters. My name's the Chun. It's time to have some fun with Post Pro 2.0, episode 7, and we have, this week, returning again, Marcus Osborne.
That's me. I'm back, and nice job on the intro. Really.
It's good, isn't it? It's like, we're my homies, let's make this shit happen. It's good. I don't even know if you can hear the music when we're talking, I don't know. I'm going to stop that now.
Yeah, I would.
Whatever, I was like, oh, fuck it, spice it up a bit, I don't know. As you can tell from the description of this episode, we got shitloads to discuss. Like, so much, it honestly makes my mind hurt.
Mine not so much.
Fair play. Well, I suppose first things first, we should start by indulging in some gluttony, shall we?
As recommended, yeah.
This is your recommendation. Talk them through it, Marcus. Talk them how this happened.
Don't really know how it happened. I'm glad that it just did happen. Basically, you take a cinnamon bun that you can get from a local shop and some cappuccino, freshly made cappuccino, and then, well, the way I do it is I pull off like one bit like that. So you pull off one edge part first.
Mm-hmm.
Have you managed to get into that thing yet?
Yeah, I'm just trying to open it quietly without it switching to me whilst you're trying to show them what to do.
Okay, no, I'm ready to go.
Awesome, right, let's pull this thing off. Yeah! Got it.
Okay, so then you take that and you dunk that in the coffee really quickly and then back out.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then you just eat it.
Lovely. Fucking hell, that's good.
I told you. I told you it was good.
This is good. Shall we tell them the name of the shop that this comes from? Technically, they don't actually sponsor us, so.
I don't know. I don't know. That's a difficult one to say because I'll just say, social media policy and everything.
Good point. Good point.
But yeah, just get a cinnamon bun.
Mm.
Anybody out there might recognise where this is from.
Anyone out there might?
Yeah. If they do, let us know which one you thought it was. Yeah,
and then if I can remember, I might tell you if you got it correct. Yeah. So, oh, that is good. Yeah, that's a good recommendation. The things you find out when you're just feeling hungry and want to experiment. You don't really care what it is. When you don't care what it is that you eat, you just want to eat.
Yeah, it's a fantastic combination.
Yeah. And also that during certain state of happiness would also be very good.
Most definitely.
People can decide what state of happiness they want that to be. I'm not going to shove any state of happiness down their throat, so I'm quite happy to just say, you'll be happy. Anyway, so the first initial topic. Here's the thing that we got shitloads on there. Shall we start with Mr. BD, Bill Demott?
I think that could be a good start point. He's been quite hot in the news this week.
Oh yeah, and there's all sorts of sub-stories branching out from it. It's been brilliant.
It's a slight bit of controversy. I mean, how long did he take over the school for? I mean, he's
been there for a long time.
Yeah, he's been there for quite a while, but
I think he's been there for a very long time actually.
But yeah, basically on the internet this week, letters have surfaced from certain stars that you would know and some that you don't from probably about 2-3 years ago, just basically criticising how Bill Demott runs the school, as in basically he was a bully. and he used to do all sorts, like make them train naked, throw racial slurs and stuff like that. There was this one thing where he used to, if they were doing press-ups, he'd like snap the ring ropes into their faces and things like that. And it made me wonder why nobody came forward. Like, I mean, a couple of people came forward at the time, and apparently they said they were investigating, which I don't know if they did. But apparently they could find absolutely nothing wrong. And I'm like, well, where have these allegations come from then? So, I mean, is that really...
And he did quit, so there must be something to it.
Well, that's it. This week he handed in his resignation to avoid... I can't remember what it was. It was...
Something like backlash against the company, I think. Something like
that. Yeah, something like that. And Jason Albert's been lined up as his replacement, which is a pretty good choice, I thought, actually.
Yeah, I think he's good in his day, wasn't he? Very good. And he did very well in Japan.
Yeah, I just think from the look of it, he's, from what I can tell, he doesn't look as much of a bully as Bill Demott does. I mean, I don't know why Bill Demott was bullying these guys. Maybe that's the way he was trained.
Yeah, I think there's it seemed to be very much the way the WCW Power Plant way of doing things. I think the WCW Power Plant, from the limited clips I've seen of it, was very, I don't know, it's very 1960s American drill sergeant, hence the Sarge. That was his nickname, wasn't it? Yeah. So I imagine Bill Demott probably got part of his idea of how to train from that. Or at least that's my theory on that.
Yeah, I think because that's the way he was trained, so that's the way he thinks that he should train everybody else, which is fine, but not fine in a company like, say, on a national scale as big as the WWE, because sooner or later that information is going to get out some way or somehow. So,
yeah.
I mean, if this was a backstreet like wrestling gym, then yeah, okay, you'd probably expect that, but not from somebody who's going to be training the stars of NXT and future stars of WWE. It's not a very good example to set, really.
No, trying to talk while sleeping cinnamon bun, this is difficult.
I'll finish mine.
I'm worried about my coffee getting cold, that's my problem, so I want to keep like dunking it in. I hear you, Smudge.
Yeah, he's being annoying tonight.
Oh dear.
Very annoying.
Yeah, I must admit, I was surprised to hear it, because I think, I don't know, I think he produced some pretty good talent from there, because obviously guys like, oh shit, that's a bad example to pop into my head. I was about to say Roman Reigns. No, obviously guys like, I know they were on the indies a lot before they got there, but guys like Seth Rollins, Ambrose, I suppose Fandango's a better wrestler than his gimmick, so I'm going to include Fandango. He's done a very good job with a couple of the divas down there. I mean, Summer Rae apparently hadn't done any wrestling before she got to WWE. She was just a model and a female NFL player who happened to play in a bikini. I've seen that clip. And he
Multiple
turned her.
times.
And hey, watch her. Yeah, a lot of times.
Oh God.
But you know what I mean. And if you watch her stuff from NXT against Paige and Emma and that, he did a good job with training her to wrestle. Shame she didn't shine that not much in her match against AJ, but separate point really. But yeah, I think he's done I thought he did quite a good job there. But the interesting sub-story that came about it that I saw the other day is apparently more information that's leaking is how Triple H apparently plays favourites at NXT. I.e., the example that came up was apparently Bill Demott told Kevin Owens not to do the top rope dive they did to CJ Parker at TakeOver.
Okay.
You know when the move that he does, he flips over the ropes. It's a senton over the ropes, basically.
Yeah.
He was told by Bill DeMott not to do that because there were big guys like, you don't do that. It's indies. This isn't the indies. This is the WWE. So, yeah. So that was basically the story behind it. But apparently Triple H just went to Owens and just said, "Look, this is your time to do what you want to do. So do what you think's best to get you over. And so the top rope senton happened. But apparently other guys that they've signed, Triple H is backing Bill Demott up and saying, no, you can't be doing stuff like this. This is the WWE. That's the Bush League style of doing it. This is our style of doing it. Apparently a couple of his favourites are Balor, Owens, and apparently he likes Itami, but he's not quite so high on him as he is on Balor and Owens. Apparently Balor and Owens are those big two guys.
Well, I mean, that's evident when you watch NXT, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It shows.
I mean, no disrespect to Kevin Owens, but he won the NXT title in, well, basically 3 matches. Same with Finn Balor. He's been there he hasn't been there that long, and he's already #1 contender for the title. So the thing is, I'm thinking, going back to Bill DeMott's way of schooling, like he was taught by an old school trainer and everything, blah, blah, blah. Do you not think you see the same thing with Triple H? Hanging around his dad that long, he realizes that people that either kiss his ass or he likes will get further in the promotion. It's the same thing. It's basically the same thing. That company just repeats old ground all the time.
It's not that I think Kevin Owens kisses his ass. I imagine Kevin Owens.
No.
I have it in my head. Kevin Owens is probably the last person to kiss any authority's ass. Just see what happened with Jim Cornette at Ring of Honor.
No, it's not that. It's like I said. It's people that kiss his ass and that he likes. I mean, like Vince.
But at least this time he actually likes a good wrestler for once.
Well, this is the difference between him and Vince. I mean, he actually likes because obviously he's grown with it, and he just said to him, NXT is your playground, do what you want with it. He recognizes that, like, it's almost like Attitude Era style guys, but not quite. They will actually go further in NXT than, say, on the main roster when you've got somebody like Rusev going against John Cena at WrestleMania. John Cena's always going to win. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's kind of Triple H sort of he knows good wrestlers when he sees them a bit more than what Vince did. Put it that way. Vince looked at gimmicks, whereas Triple H looks at sort of actual wrestling ability. So in that case, that's why I think NXT is better than some of the main shows.
I'd agree with that. And as well, it's an interesting point that we've got to. I think as well with the NXT, the show breakdown is roughly 80% matches, 20% promo, and the main roster is more. It's probably closer to 55% matches and 45% promo. And I think that is showing. I think people are starting to get behind wrestlers more. Like I think people are starting to like Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins, Ambrose. They like guys like Wyatt. They like guys like Wyatt. They like guys like Antonio Cesaro. They like guys like Tyson Kidd. These guys are all getting quite over. And the one thing that every single one of these blokes has in common is that they can wrestle. And who isn't really that hot, or isn't as hot as this push should allow him to be? Roman Reigns. People's opinion on his wrestling ability is not great. Let's just say it's not great, and his promo ability is not perfect. Really, all Roman Reigns is the look, and he's not as over as he should be considering his push. So I think there's a switch that the company will have to be forced to. I think the company's going to be forced to actually switch the way it pushes people or who it pushes eventually. But
with NXT as well, I've noticed is generally not as much as I would like it to be, but generally how should we put it, the mid-carders. I'm thinking from NXT, you guys like, say, Bull Dempsey, Enzo Amore and Big Kaz, they're kind of mid-card sort of level, aren't they? But they're always featured as well.
Yeah.
That's why I think that show's working better, because they're promoting things in the right way rather than just throwing in promotions for the hell of it, kind of thing.
And the thing of the NXT mid-carders is they're actually talented mid-carders. Like, if you think of Enzo Amore and Cassidy, though they are really entertaining. What is it? Bada boom, baddest guys in the room. How you doing? Every time gets the audience. He's a good entertainer actually, Enzo Amore. Very good.
Yeah, was Enzo Amore trained by Bill Demott though? That's what I'm wondering, because
I
Bill
think he was
Demott
trained in WWE style, yeah.
well, I mean, Bill Demott was there for ages as the head trainer, and then they brought in Billy Gunn and was it somebody else? I can't remember who else it was. It might have been Billy Gunn and Road Dogg actually. And they said since those two have come here and kind of Bill's not the head guy anymore, it got a lot better. And that's when some of the NXT stars from probably this time last year, maybe a bit before, started coming out. Guys like Adrian Neville, Sammy, recently Kevin Owens, you know, Itami, all these guys came out of the Performance Center essentially. So ever since Bill DeMott wasn't there on his own, things got better. And the talent, you know, Bill DeMott put out some really good talent, like you said, but the talent seemed to get a little more refined, and they can actually connect with the audience a lot better than what they're doing at the minute on the current roster, like the main shows.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I think that's almost always going to happen, because even if Bill DeMott is the best trainer in the world, there's going to be something he's not so great at, and I think in terms of like the toughness and the physical side of things, I think Bill DeMott's probably a good guy to have around. If you want to learn about the more athletic side of things, maybe, and if you want to learn how to be a less vocal presence on the roster, I think Billy Gunn's a good guy to go to, because he wasn't that vocal even in New Age Outlaws. And if you want to learn how to do promo work, then you want to be great at promos, then you got the Road Dogg there. So I think all three guys, you need to have sort of like a good three head trainers that these guys can all go to form that really good all-rounder, if you want.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, with going back to like Bill DeMott's training and stuff, you had guys leave like Derek Bateman as well. He was another one that took it. You know, I mean, there was a lot of good talent that came out of it, but they never went anywhere in that company, which is a shame. But no, I think to his credit, he may have been quite old school with it, but I think, yeah, like you said, Bill DeMott did bring out some good wrestlers. It's just a shame that he was a bit of a bully, really, because that's not a very good example to set when you're supposed to be working in the best company in the world to work for, Happy Land, whatever you want to call it. If you're being bullied every single day and victimized and doing things like naked drills and, you know, having slurs thrown at you all the time, I mean, I understand that's the way he was trained, and I mean, I think the guys that it didn't bother so much, they actually made it through, whereas the guys that didn't might have been slightly, I don't want to say weaker or softer than, you know, guys like Adrian Neville, whatever, but, you know, maybe they couldn't hack it, which is understandable, really, to be honest.
Sometimes I wonder if there is actually any truth in it, or if it's just sour grapes from certain guys, but yeah, it's certainly not the way you want to be going about things, that's for sure, and it'll be interesting to see how that develops. I also heard, also on the NXT Performance Center, apparently the Undertaker's starting to take more of a trainer's role there. Apparently the Undertaker's recently been on hand as an advisor. So if that's true, they have the NXT talent have really got a hell of a wrestler to learn from. Yeah. Really, I mean, okay, maybe not so much if you're a high flyer, like if you want to hone your high flying skills. Maybe the Undertaker's not the right guy for you. But
well,
my
you say that, but you
actually,
say that.
Yeah, you're right.
The top rope dives, the old school,
I guess.
You know, the flying big boot, the flying lariat through the air. He's quite agile for a big guy.
That's a point. But I mean, if you really want to learn character building and psychology, who better than Taker? Nobody.
Well, I think it's with Undertaker, you would learn like a much deeper respect for the business as well. I think because obviously he's one of the most respected guys there, and he respects the business so much. So I think having him there, yeah, within the next 12 months, you want to watch the NXT talent roster.
I think so, yeah, and I think and I'm intrigued to see what happens on the main roster once Vince McMahon really actually just completely takes a step back and Triple H steps forward onto the main roster. I'm very intrigued to see how the main roster gets affected in that way, because I think that'll be interesting. Because obviously NXT is kind of on fire at the moment. It's producing good show after good show after good show, and people are coming back to it. Hence, Brian Kendricks, Rhinos. It's bringing in quite respected guys. It's bringing in some hell of a new talent, talent which the WWE has rarely seen before, in guys like Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Edge and Neville. I think the Ascension's a good tag team, and I think they've been ruined on the main roster. The Ascension were great in NXT. The Lucha Dragons is quite a good tag team. I think the Vaudevillains is quite a good character development. You've got Enzo Amore and Butch Cassidy. You've got Sasha Banks is a very good diva. Charlotte's quite a good diva. Quite good. I don't think she's the best, but she is what she is. And then you got a lot of people on that roster right now who are really, really, really good. And did I say Sami Zayn? I must have done. Oh yeah, Hideo Itami, Finn Balor. I forgot about those guys. That talent pool is so good, and so good at what they do. It's almost easy to see why NXT's currently got more buzz about it than the main WWE.
I think that's why a lot of people are waiting for Triple H to take over the main rosters, because if he's going to do what he's done with NXT and run it the way that he would run NXT, but just on the main roster, I imagine the show's going to get a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, I think Jeff Jarrett said it in an interview recently with Global Force, because I think he said something like, now is the best time to set up Global Force, and they're like, why? Somebody asked him why did you say that, and I think he said something like, I think we're on the cusp of a next big boom in pro wrestling, because of the talent pool that's out there, and he reckons the industry is on the verge of a big change, which will just make it get hot. And I'm kind of with him. And another NXT topic that you wanted to mention, it's kind of a smaller point. I'll let you take it away.
Well, I assume you're referencing to the return of A-Rai to in-ring competition.
I am.
I wouldn't say that was a smaller point, to be honest, because, well, okay, technically it is, but in terms of NXT and stuff, having Alex Riley back is huge. I take it you watched the match.
Are you talking about the one with CJ?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, it's a good match. I didn't think it was standout.
Yeah, it wasn't show stealing.
But then again, he's only been back for what, one match? So what would you expect?
Exactly, he's been out of the ring for 2 years. Looks great as well.
CJ Parker, who is, whatever. He's a jobber. He's not a bad jobber, but he's still a jobber.
Yeah, I mean, he's like you said, but even the jobbers in NXT are still pretty good. I mean, I imagine I'd rather have CJ Parker than Sin Cara, put it that way. Sin Cara's on Superstars. I'd rather see CJ Parker though. Even though he's a jobber, he's still quite a good jobber, really, in terms of ring work. But Alex Riley, came back. Match wasn't.
You know what I mean, though, about CJ Parker? I mean, it's not like Alex Riley returned against Finn Balor or Hideo Itami or Sami Zayn.
No,
So I'm interested to see how the match with Kevin Owens goes, because I think Kevin Owens is a big step up from CJ Parker in terms of how good he is.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, you figure, A, they must have had confidence in Riley to put him against Owens. And two, I mean, you watch some of Riley's matches, like when he was in active competition. He's been up against The Miz. He was in a tag match with John Cena and Randy Orton and guys like that. He's been against some pretty big names. He wasn't exactly main event, but he was always hanging around in the mid card, and he was always huge on NXT as well. But no, I think his return was good. I think the him and Owens match, it will be. I think in a way it's kind of, I think maybe that's a test to Kevin Owens as well to see how well he could carry Alex Riley, to put it that sense. I'm not saying Riley's a bad wrestler at all, but like you said, 2 years out of the ring, his first match was against the jobber, and now he's going into like a main event against the champ. Champ who happens to be Kevin Owens as well. It's not like he's going against, let's say, I don't know. If I can think of people from the main roster, who could I think of to put it in terms of, let's say, Zack Ryder. It's not Riley against Ryder or anyone like that. It's Riley against Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be difficult, but at the same time, I think this will be a test for Kevin Owens to see how well he can basically carry Riley, because I think that's basically what they're setting him up for. Well, I think Riley will do a fantastic job, so it's good to see A-Rai back.
Yeah, I think Alex will get back into the swing of things pretty quickly. I'm thinking about the next big boom in pro wrestling. I've started watching Ring of Honor recently. I mean, there's not a huge amount to talk about apart from hashtag Watch ROH, which is their own Twitter movement, and I'd agree, watch it, because they have got some very good talents down there. One thing that's surprised me about Ring of Honor is just how big the ringside area is. It's they've got quite a lot of space between the ring ropes and the barricade, almost twice the amount that you see in WWE, which I don't know why I took note of that, but I did. Anyway, reason why I bring it up now is apparently WWE is looking at a couple of ROH guys and waiting for their contracts to expire before they sort of swoop in. So I was like, okay, there's an angle we can approach this. Let's talk about Ring of Honor and how our thoughts on that company, because I watched my first show. I watched, I suppose, the full way through was the 13th anniversary show, and I was really impressed. I liked it a lot. There are a couple of matches that stick out in my mind. What was the other team's name? I think it's Red Dragon. Yeah, the Young Bucks versus Red Dragon. Pretty sure it was, because it's sort of tag titles. So it would have been Red Dragon. So the Young Bucks versus Red Dragon. That was a hell of a match. That was very, very good. The Young Bucks, they are exciting to watch. I'll admit that. You also had Matt Sydal versus, I can't remember who it was he was against. But again, it was a good match. I remember that much. The match that does stick out in my head, though, is when I say this, everyone's going to go, "Oh, here we go again." But it's ACH versus AJ Styles. That was I'm not going to do it. That was a really, really, really good match. You knew what I was about to say there and stopped myself before I did the cliche. He's phenomenal.
Ring of Honor, they've got some. They have got some pretty decent talent there. They seem to pull it out on pay-per-views more than they do on televised shows. Or well, I mean, even then.
I watched the televised show after the 13th anniversary. Pretty good. The Addiction were featured. That would be formerly known as the Bad Influence. Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian, and they had a really good match. Lost though, they got screwed. Was it against Red Dragon? No. Red Dragon faced Adam Page and QT Marshall, I think his name is, in the main event. But it was a good show. The action was pretty good, I must admit.
Yeah, I mean it's ROH as well. You figure the guys that have come and been through there as well. Going to drop some names now for people that don't know, that have lived under a rock for the last 12 years. CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Austin Aries. I was going to say Kurt Angle, but no. Jeff Jarrett was there. Kevin Steen or Owens, Balor. More recent guys: Balor, Itami, or Kenta, whatever you want to call him. Tyler Black, Seth Rollins, Ambrose was there. Yeah. I don't think Reigns was there because he was just.
No, he wasn't.
No. But yeah, I mean, you look at the quality of wrestlers that have been and gone there, it's pretty astronomical how good the talent is there. well, the talent that has been. I mean, they're trying to build new stars, and I mean, a few of them are really standout. A few of them maybe not, but at the same time, you can say that about any company, really. It's just because it's on a smaller scale and doesn't have the funds and the backing as much as a global promotion like TNA or WWE has, they're not as exposed as they should be. But in terms of stars that they're looking to buy out,
yeah, see, that's the thing. I think Ring of Honor deserves a lot more exposure than it gets. It really does. Considering the size of the company, the shows it puts on are of a lot higher quality than you'd expect from a company that size. Let's put it that way. Yeah, it's the guys that we'd say they're looking to sign. The other thing I'd say about Ring of Honor now, though, is it feels like a company which is on the verge of actually starting to grow, I think, because they recently re-signed AJ Styles. Well, I say recently, that was last year, but they've brought back Samoa Joe as well, who I know people say he's getting older and fatter, but he is still actually a very good wrestler if you watch him. And yeah, they're starting to bring back a couple of guys there, who I believe will bring with them some eyes from TNA. If only they could get a guy who gets fired by the WWE, but is still quite a largish name at the time of his firing. If they could get a guy like that. Oh yeah, sorry, that was the other one I was thinking of. Alberto El Patron.
yes,
Alberto Del Rio. That's another one they brought in who is bringing fresh eyes to that product.
yeah,
That's it. Yeah, and I feel like that company is very much on the verge of achieving bigger things.
yeah. I mean, they are, like you said, some of the stars there aren't great, but that's the same in any company you go. But in terms of people that they would actually sign that are on current contracts there, I mean, the obvious one that jumps out is AJ Styles.
Yeah, I'd say that we should be looking at AJ Styles, but I doubt they are.
You don't know that, because I remembered as well that Styles and Joe had a match on, I think it was on Velocity or Heat or something in 2002. Both of them, I think AJ couldn't wrestle there because it was something to do with his girlfriend or something to do with education, so he couldn't move or something because he couldn't work the schedule. And I think, I'm not sure why Joe didn't get signed, but you figure that was about, what, 12, 13 years ago, and generally guys that have tryouts years before come back years later as a defined sort of character. This is why I was thinking of AJ, Samoa Joe, but in terms of a tag team, I was thinking...
You just got muted.
Did I? No.
Don't know why.
Wait a sec, is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Smudge. He was climbing on the keyboard.
That'll be it.
Yeah, in terms of a tag team, I'm thinking the Briscoes.
Yes. That's a team they're people who I was thinking are likely to be on their radar, because I think that at the moment the WWE Tag Team division is improved over what it was about 2 years ago, but it's still not where it needs to be. You might end up getting muted again in a minute.
No, he's okay. He's just sort of sat on my knee. He's getting... What's the matter? You want some attention? Okay. That's fine.
Nugget.
I mean, the Briscoes as well, it's because it's a family name as well, isn't it? The Briscoes, obviously, you know, Jerry Briscoe, still employed by WWE at the time. No, he's still employed there. Yeah, so the Briscoes have the wrestling heritage name, so they would be good for a tag team. But in terms of
they're also very experienced as a team, and I think they're two very good talents as well, actually.
The only other two I was thinking was possibly Daniels and Kaz, but I don't think so, because Daniels...
they're starting to get too old, I think, for WWE to sign as a new talent there.
Yeah, that's the thing. In terms of their young talent, I mean, there isn't really...
Well, I was going to mention a couple of talents. After his match with AJ Styles, I see a lot in ACH, who I reckon WWE might look to sign.
He was one that I did consider. Yeah, I thought, oh, okay, yeah, he's good.
Who's actually on their main roster again? I can't remember who's actually on their roster now.
There was I forget his name. I'm looking up the roster as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, because there's people who I've thought of who I've forgotten. I know there is.
See, I mean, there is Matt Siddell as well, but obviously he's already been.
That's it. That's the guy I was thinking of. Adam Cole. That was his name.
Yeah,
he's
Adam
quite
Cole.
good.
Yeah. The other guy I looked at as well, which I thought could be quite different, is Jimmy Jacobs.
Yes.
Because he looks different, doesn't he? He sort of fits the edgy style of today. Like you look at your Corey Graves, your.
My concern with him is he might be considered too similar in a way to what was his name, the guy who debuted on NXT recently, Solomon Crowe. I wonder if he'll end up getting type of similar brush.
Possibly. I just look at. I mean, his look is just. It's slightly different, but it's slightly classic as well. Like, well, I say classic in the stem of like Gangrel and Kevin Thorne, you know, all those kind of guys. But at the same time, he just looks a bit different. He sort of fits the model. Like I said, like nowadays, you're Baron Corbin, Corey Graves, you know, guys like that. Even to an extent, CM Punk as well. Just tattoos everywhere. You know, he's got a sort of edgy look. And that's why he kind of jumped out at me. But besides that, yeah, him and ACH. There's not really anybody I can think of that they would be.
Yeah, I would say I reckon Adam Cole's going to be there. I think he's progressed a lot since he's been with Ring of Honor, and I do believe that with the guidance of now, what the fucking hell is that?
I have no idea what that was.
Wow,
there's somebody blowing a horn on the telly.
Oh, it's your telly. I didn't know that.
Yeah, the telly's on in the background. It's alright, Smudge.
That's probably why I keep hearing like random things.
Yeah, the TV's on in the background.
Yeah. I completely put me off my train of thought. Yeah, that's it. With Jason Albert and Billy Gunn and Road Dogg there, I reckon Adam Cole will develop into a very, very useful member of their roster as well. Because he's got a good look, Adam Cole.
Yeah, I mean, he is one that I would say could possibly be one to call up. But the thing is now, they could, essentially though, with the talent, with those three guys running it and possibly with help from The Undertaker as well, I don't think there's that many people that they couldn't call up to an NXT roster and make a star out of. Because it's just that star power is just brilliant.
Thing is, though, you mentioned AJ. I'm wondering how that would go if AJ did get called up to. If they let's just say they did sign up AJ. How would that sort of go? See, I'm not entirely sure. I have a funny. I don't know. He's 36 now, AJ. So he doesn't need any time in NXT. Let's put that on the table right now. AJ needs no time at all in NXT. But I know they'd send him there. They would put him in NXT. They'd keep him there for a year or two, and then he'll be 38 by the time he makes his debut on the main roster. Not that that prevented DDP from making an impact, but you catch my drift, and he'll be 38 when he debuts on the main roster. It's like he's not going to have long enough on the main roster to make a full impact on that company that he should have.
Yeah, and I mean, I think with AJ, I think we spoke about it before. I would see the WWE using him on, like, let's say, superstars against somebody like Justin Gabriel, Adam Rose, you know, guys like that. I mean, if he were to put straight into the main roster, I don't ever see them. He deserves to be pushed more than that, but I just don't see it because, you know, oh, he's small and he's kind of old, so we're just going to kind of leave him floating around in superstars for a little bit, maybe a bit in NXT and maybe like a Money in the Bank or something. So that's the only thing I would think that they would do, because they just, like you said, it's kind of too late to really sign him now. If it was maybe 10 years ago at this stage and they said, yeah, we'll sign him, then he'd still be there now. He'd probably have been world champ multiple times.
Yeah.
But yeah, age-wise, I mean, AJ, the thing is with AJ, he's the too obvious choice, I think. When you look at the ROH roster, you go, oh, they're going to sign a couple of guys from ROH, and they're like, oh, it's going to be AJ Styles. And it's like, nah, they should sign him. They should have signed him a long time ago. but they haven't, and I don't think they ever will. Because as well, I don't think AJ wants to work there really.
I have a feeling he doesn't. But you never know. Sting was like that for a while, for quite a long time. I do think if they signed AJ and put him straight into the main roster, hell, don't announce he's going to debut either. Don't announce his debut. Just have him debut, bang! All of a sudden, here's AJ Styles. I don't know, comes out, kicks the Miz's ass or something like that, in the way that only AJ can. And then I think that'd be a good way to get him started on the main roster. And I think you'd have to get him plugged into the pipeline pretty quick. Within 2 years, challenging for a world title. I think AJ Styles is so far away from being on the decline. He's not quite the Super Junior he was before. In 2006 when he was wrestling CM Punk in Ring of Honor. But my God, there's still very, very few wrestlers on this planet who can put together a match like AJ Styles. If you were to put, let's think that, what's my dream WWE main event? Okay, take AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins, or AJ Styles versus Bray Wyatt, AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose, AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles versus even John Cena would be a good match. AJ Styles versus anybody would be a hell of a main event. And the thing is with AJ Styles will always deliver. He is kind of the guy. He's kind of like Shawn Michaels in that respect. When you watch Shawn Michaels wrestle, you can almost bank on it being one of the best, if not the best, match on the card. Except for that time of Hulk Hogan, but then again, that's because Shawn Michaels didn't want it to be a good match, and he tried to prove a point. AJ Styles is one of those guys where if you see AJ Styles is going to be on the card, just automatically assume that's going to be the match to watch, because it's going to be. I've never ever seen a bad AJ match ever.
No.
I remember seeing I watched a match 2 days ago it was a dark match from Velocity. Who did he wrestle again? Hurricane. It was a dark match against the Hurricane. It's a dark match. What does he do? He goes up to the top rope and shoots star presses to the outside. A guy who nobody at that time had even heard of in the WWE, a complete unknown at that year, AJ Styles, and he popped the crowd in a dark match. That's how good AJ Styles is.
He is. He's one of those guys that's just, he always rises to the top. He's always on top of his game. I was thinking, though, for a debut, wouldn't it be better to have something like, say, Money in the Bank, is what I say. Have a mystery eighth opponent. AJ comes in, kicks ass like he does, gets the Money in the Bank, holds it for quite a while, challenges somebody at Mania, maybe wins the title, holds it for a few months, lets go of the belt to somebody else, and that's it. I mean, that would be the long and short version of a good career in WWE, I think, by today's standards.
That'd be a good. That'd be a very respectable run, and very much what AJ deserves, and he'd get the credit he deserves. I think as well, I doubt it would happen, but if he were to use the edited intro version of Demigods as well, that would work quite well, because obviously AJ Styles, when was the last time he was in WWE or seen on TV? 2002 was the last time he was seen on WWE TV, and it was Full Metal and jacked, so not many people will remember it. And of course WWE featured him on the network as well. That's something worth pointing out. They did feature him on the network as a superstar you didn't know was in WWE.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were to use the non-edited intro of Demigods as well, because that goes, the opening lyric of that is, I've been waiting on this my whole life. So that would tie in quite nicely. And plus, that song would work really, really well in the WWE as well. That song would just fit in the entrances, and I could see a lot of people popping. I envisage a lot of people popping if they were to suddenly hear that music fire up. Because, yeah, I think that would be good. I don't think the WWE would use Demigods though.
No, they use CFOS crap or something.
Oh no, yeah, they do that. I can't even remember what they've called Sting's new theme now. Apparently, it's something like Dark Fears or whatever. I don't know. I know I've come to peace with that. It's what it is. It's what we're gonna get. So I better just get used to the idea, I guess.
But as for talent being signed up, I don't know. That's the only way I can answer that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the four I think are likely to get signed up are the Briscoes, Adam Cole, and probably ACH as an outside bet. ACH.
I'm not going to make a gamble on that one because I'm not sure. Guess we'll have to wait and see after WrestleMania.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know when the contracts expire in Ring of Honor. I don't think they get signed to long-term contracts in Ring of Honor. I think it's shorter term. I think it's better for the company that way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we've pretty much exhausted all the wrestling topics. So, oh yeah, I forgot to mention off the start of the episode. If you have any questions, I am looking to start up like a Q&A section of Host Pro. So if you guys have any questions to send in, please do. We'd love to receive some audience questions. If you send those questions to glenchun14@gmail.com, I'll do my best to read absolutely all of them, and we'll pick the questions out. And it can be anything. It can be anything. Which I may later on, when I read some of these questions, regret saying that. But yeah, if you have any questions you'd like to send to us, send them to that email address, and we'll create like this a weekly section, like maybe 10 minutes or so, where we just go through like the audience questions. And I think that could produce, because it's an untapped resources, my subscribers' brains. There's like 657 or 8 of you now, so the number's growing. We could create something pretty awesome with that many people asking us questions, and I think it'd be a very entertaining part of the show.
What I would like more as well is if you guys could do mean tweets as well, so we could tweet to you or whatever, and just mean tweets if they think the show sucks, because I think it'd just be funny to go through some of the insults.
Well, you want them to tweet that the show sucks?
No, I mean I want them to, if they think the show sucks, or that they just want to call us, I don't know, names or whatever, I recommend that they tweet it, because then we can read them out live.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I just think it'd be a funny segment.
It would be a funny segment, but the problem is, I don't take criticism very well. Yeah, but what would happen is they send in a comment saying your show sucks. Why can't you just get off the air? I'll take that personally. I'd probably blank out. I'll go on a massive rant about how I'd like to skin them alive, and then once all their skin has been removed, slowly pick out their ribcage, just like pick out their ribcage like one by one, just rib by rib, just like, and then like use their ribs as a toothpick, and then I don't know. Then I'd probably end up just saying, and then I'd probably end up stripping naked in front of them and making them jealous through my penile size and girth, and saying, "Ha! You wish you had this. Tough. You can't have it." And then just zip it up, and then they'll have to go through the rest of their lives knowing that they will never, ever match up to that, and it would just kill them and drive them crazy. That's probably what would happen. If
Are you done, by the way?
Yeah, I was about to finish, but yeah, that's probably what would happen if people were to send in hate messages. Yeah.
Okay, because I kind of blanked out when you started talking about ribs, and then I just came back onto the penile part. That's the only part I remember. Anyway, I think it would be funny with the criticism, because then you could just read it out and make fun of it.
Yeah, I suppose.
That's the way I was looking at it, and any attention is good attention, and I just think it'd be funny.
God damn it, Smudge!
Ow.
He walked on your keyboard again, didn't he?
He did. Am I muted?
Yeah, you got muted.
Oh, okay. Bloody cat. Alright, just stay there. But yeah, okay. So yeah, Q&A sections, send to your email.
Yeah. I think before Smudge mutes him again, let's move on to Jeremy Clarkson. Because Jeremy Clarkson had a bit of a problem. He punched a producer, allegedly. don't know if it's actually true, but he allegedly punched the producer. The rest of the series of Top Gear is currently postponed until such a time as that he's proven innocent or whatever. I don't know. The problem with this is, it's so difficult to defend Clarkson now because, oh good God, Smudge will not stay off your keyboard today.
He's okay.
The problem with Clarkson is he's getting difficult to defend, right? Very difficult to defend. It's like, oh come on, you didn't notice the number plate on your Porsche in the Argentinian episode? Yeah, my ass. I don't buy for a second that 1998 or something, whatever it was, FKL is a coincidence. It's not. You're not fooling anybody. You're just not. And then there's the time he went and pissed off a load of Mexicans, used the term slope to describe Asian people, which is it's not so a common term nowadays, but it's basically it's the equivalent of shit. I can't even say that.
Careful.
I think people know what I'm trying to say. It's the equivalent of. It's just the other word hasn't actually died out yet. It will happen one day, but it hasn't happened yet. And then he's gone off. He just keeps on pissing off a load of people. The other time he said he would shoot a load of bankers in front of their families. He said that in the one show. It's like it keeps coming up. It's just like every couple of months here comes a new thing. Oh yeah, he actually used that word as well. I can't remember which one it was. There was an episode where he apparently, yes, that was it. He did an old school nursery rhyme, and he actually did use the N word in that nursery rhyme. Well, he allegedly used it. It's muffled, but apparently it's people have said that's what he said. It's just like every couple of months there's something new with Clarkson. It's something new, something new, something new. It's like, how many times does this have to happen?
Yeah, but at the same time, like, do you not think in a way it's... I don't want to sound bad or anything, I'm not defending any of his actions, but do you not think some of it is just kind of like a classic grumpy old man, a grumpy old British man, who's just so stuck in 1950s and 60s humour, and he hasn't transpired into the newer generations yet, is what I'm thinking. I mean, he's so behind the times as well. He's just basically a grumpy old man who says what he wants to say. And
that's how he comes across, or at least the character I think he wants to portray. But he doesn't really come across as a grumpy old man, he just comes across as a bit pathetic now. Really.
Yeah,
I like Clarkson, and I find him entertaining, but it's becoming too much.
I suppose as well at the same time though, I know he's a bit egotistical as well. Like, you know, he would go to parties and brag that he drove his brand new Ferrari at 150 miles an hour down like the M7 or something. And it's just like, I think his ego got the better of him as well, because he wanted to each couple of months when something new comes out, he thinks, oh, how much further can I go this time? How much further can I go this time? And this time he's actually gone too far because he ended up punching a producer.
And has been properly suspended, which the other times he hasn't even got that. A couple of times I think he's been fined. By the way, you might want to turn down your TV, because whatever that was, that time it got loud again. I don't know.
I didn't really pay attention to that. Where's the remote?
Yeah. It got loud in my ears, and I was like, I can imagine people being like, turn it down.
I will be back in one moment.
Yeah, I'll continue with my thought on Clarkson whilst we're gone. Where were we? Yeah, it's a point. It is a point. It is a point with Clarkson.
Well, that was interesting. I just went over to my TV and there's a documentary on about Bigfoot.
Okay.
It's a bit weird. But yeah, Clarkson's just trying to push the envelope as much as he can, and this time he pushed too far.
Yeah, I mean, with Clarkson, I think that's probably what it is. I think it's a bit of a god complex, really. It's like, how far can I go and keep getting away with it? And it's like, at some point you've got to just stop, take what you've done as a win, and just be like, yeah, I'm virtually untouchable, and just be like, you've got away with enough now. Don't have to keep proving a point. He's not looking. It's not impressive, you know. But now that Clarkson is on the cusp of actually being gone, problem is, does Top Gear die with him? Well, to a degree, yes, I think it would. But here's what should happen: if they do kick Clarkson off, Clarkson got his start when he got signed to original Top Gear as a motoring journalist. So let's create a new Jeremy Clarkson. Kick Clarkson off, sign Chris Harris.
Do you really think it's a good idea to create another Clarkson?
It's not that I'm saying create another Clarkson. It's create another star the size of Clarkson.
Yeah, I know what you meant. I was just clearing that up for anyone out there that goes, "Oh, he wants to make another Jeremy Clarkson. Huh? That means he's racist," or something like that.
Oh God, probably am racist. I don't know.
I'm racist against black and white cats. Get out of it.
But my point is, just Chris Harris would fit perfectly onto that show. Perfectly. He'd be ideal. He is a genuinely funny man who he'd bring some. I mean, at the moment, Top Gear is also free middle-aged to old white men. Chris Harris is not a middle-aged to old white man. I don't know what nationality he actually is, but he would bring a bit more ethnicity to Top Gear, make that more a diverse show in that sense. But Chris Harris is just a really, 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 really funny guy who is incredibly informative about cars. He could do a serious review of any car on that show, and it would instantly be a better segment than anything they produced since 2002. It'd be the best video package about a car they've ever done in the last 13 years. And since the old Top Gear, Chris Harris is that fucking good. He should be on that fucking show. BBC, what the fuck are you waiting for? Just sign Chris Harris. Sign him. I want you to sign him. You better sign him, or I will come round to your house and I will punch you in the face and kick your ass until you sign him. I will literally hold your pen. I'll hold your hand down on a piece of paper with a pen in your hand, like, write Chris Harris's name on a contract and fax it to him. I will literally not let you go until you send him that contract offer. Fucking BBC.
Okay. Is it my turn?
I also wanted to say something else about Chris Harris. Instead of punching producers, Chris Harris is the type of guy who would take them all out for a round of beers.
Okay,
That's
obviously not. Anyways.
It would.
No, I was referencing to, is it my turn to talk yet?
Yeah.
What was I going to say? The replacements they've got in line, apparently Piers Morgan tweeted that he would want to be the next presenter of Top Gear.
Oh, well, fuck that. That would be goddamn. That would be terrible.
Yeah, essentially Piers Morgan was like, oh, I'll take the job. And I'm like, if you put Piers Morgan on that show, that's just going to be absolutely pathetic.
That show would die a death so fast it would make everybody's head spin.
Yeah, I don't know who was the other one that was going to be a replacement.
Plus Piers Morgan can't drive. That's another point.
Well, exactly. I'm trying to think who the other person was that was in talks for replacement. I don't know. It just wasn't somebody that to me would fit the mold kind of thing. I mean, the Clarkson mold isn't a great one in terms of some of his actions, but I mean, he is basically Top Gear, though, isn't he? Really,
he's basically the voice of motoring journalism at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can't see James May taking over the show, and I could see Hammond taking over. It wouldn't be great, but it would be kind of like a stopgap until they get somebody else. Put it that way.
Chris Harris.
But yeah, I don't know if there's any suitable. Well, there's nobody really that jumps out of my head. I mean, I know Chris Harris jumps out of your head, but that's only because I'm not familiar with this stuff. But in terms of like actual mainstay celebs of today, there's not really anyone that jumps out of my head that goes, oh yeah, he should be presenting Top Gear next, because it's just like, no, I can't really think of anybody, to be honest.
I suppose there are two people who I think might be able to do it. You could have Chris Evans do it. I think Chris Evans would be all right. He's deeply into his cars, in a very big way. I think he might be able to. It'd be an interesting stopgap, or possibly J.K. of Jamiroquai, because I know he is absolutely batty about cars, and he can drive to boot as well.
I'd say actually who would be a good replacement, it's just jumped out of my head, would be somebody like Damon Hill.
Oh shit! Yes, very good idea. And plus, Jenson Button's not got long on his F1 career left. I have a sneaking suspicion this year is going to be his last year. So if that turns out to be true, and Jenson Button becomes available, but Jenson Button is, I think, probably one of the best personalities in F1 in terms of a model professional. He can obviously drive. I mean, he's an F1 world champion, so yeah, he can drive. And I think he would be. I've seen him do a bit of TV work in the past. I remember there was this time in 2000. Yes, I think it's 2005. BAR, the team he is with, cheated at Imola, and they got banned for 2 races. And he did commentary at Monaco because it was his home, because it's where he lives in Monaco. So that's where he did commentary for that race, and he was good at it, really good at it. And it was his first time ever commentating, so Jenson Button would be a really good choice, assuming his F1 career ends this year, which it probably will.
Yeah, but besides that, I mean, with the possibility of possibly Nigel Mansell.
Oh yeah, the Tash.
Yeah, I think he could be. He would probably be a pretty good host, and I think it'd be better in a way to have somebody that actually knows about cars present it, as opposed to Clarkson. When he started, he was just a journalist. You know, he built up his experience through the years. Whereas somebody like that, they've already got the experience, and okay, maybe not. Well, Mansell would bring the name. I don't know how much charisma he'd bring to it exactly, because he's kind of dry, isn't he? He's just kind of like, okay.
To a degree, but he's still of the era of F1 where the true megastars played. He's of that golden age of F1, I think. Well, I think of it as the golden age of F1 anyway.
Yeah, I just hope they pick somebody like that and somebody more appropriate than somebody like, say, Piers Morgan or the other.
Piers Morgan couldn't do it. That's a terrible idea.
Who's the other twat? Is it No, not Parkinson. What's his name? Paxman. That's the one.
Whoa, wait. They're actually thinking about that?
No, I'm just saying somebody like Paxman.
Oh, good. Oh, thank God. Yeah, that wouldn't be cool.
That's probably the way that the BBC looks at it. Though. They're like, oh, well, Jeremy Paxman, he's a big name. Why don't we bring him in? And it's like, no. Start. Essentially, maybe Clarkson's suspension and inevitable firing is a sign that maybe it's time to change. So maybe they'll take that on board.
Yeah, I think Clarkson, he obviously does know a lot about cars. But it's gotten to a point with Clarkson where he's trying too hard to be funny, and it's coming across as trying too hard, and he should really just scale it. He should have scaled it back 2 years ago, actually, but he didn't. And I think the show is starting to become more difficult to watch than it used to be. I still like it, but I mean, the news section isn't what it used to be. The news section used to be about cars, but actually funny as well. Now it's like anything but about cars. They literally they announced news about a couple of supercars from Geneva, and it's like, these are the supercars. This is what your focus of your show is high-end performance machinery. Barely talked about it. They talked about some, as William Reed would say, total nonsense for about 2 minutes. Instead, it's like, no, talk about the fucking Porsche GT3 RS. Don't talk about whatever the fucking else it was. Like, I just remember thinking, really, that's all. I think it was something like they joked. They said, people say we don't talk about cars enough anymore, so let's talk about some cars from Geneva. Ran through 4 of them. This is a Porsche GT3 RS. Yes, there it is. And then they moved on. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, they seriously are starting to get quite lazy on that show, I think, which is why I think
they're complacent in a big way.
I think that's why Clarkson's suspension couldn't have come at a better time, because now they can get somebody new in there, somebody younger, or even just somebody that's more experienced, like Damon Hill, Jenson Button, a former F1 driver or a rally driver or something, you know.
There's a lot of ways you can take it, but it needs to shake up.
Yeah. Don't take just a TV personality and then get him into cars. Get somebody that actually knows about cars beforehand and put him straight in there. And I think you'll
Yeah,
find out you have a much better show.
yeah,
Possibly new producers as well, because the show's got kind of stale. So maybe a couple of new writers or producers or something, and possible change to the layout of the show. Could become like Top Gear of old.
it's yeah, or certainly more maybe the Top Gear of 2008, where it was genuinely really good. Thing is, that show's gotten so far down the road of trying to be funny and trying to produce skits, it's lost a lot of its credibility. It needs somebody to bring some credibility back. It needs a motoring version of Brock Lesnar. That's what it needs. To bring some legitimacy back to Top Gear, which is what it's severely lacking at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's essentially like as well, like James May and Clarkson. I mean, and Hammond as well to an extent. He's not exactly young anymore, but essentially it's sort of three older gents that aren't really in touch with a younger audience as much, kind of thing. They're just kind of same stale gags over and over. It's like slapstick humor in a way of the journalism world, and it's just gotten a bit too boring.
I think they should keep Hammond and May on for at least another 5 years to ease the transition. But I think if you were to ultimately in 5 years. In 5 years, Clarkson and May need to have gone. Hammond can stay on because he's still youngish, and I think Hammond is still produces some pretty good funny comments now and then. I think more so than May and Clarkson do at this point. I think he's becoming more entertaining than those two. And if I had my dream lineup, now that we've had a bit of a chance to talk it over and think about it, in 5 years' time, my 3 people, or if you even want to go with a 4, or there's my dream 3 people to host Top Gear in 5 years' time, now that we've discussed it, would be Jensen Button, Chris Harris, and Richard Hammond. And if you wanted to bring in some sexual diversity into that show, scratch Richard Hammond and bring in Vicky Butler Henderson or somebody along those lines, who also knows a lot about cars, can actually drive a car, and would be genuinely quite a good host, I think.
Yeah, and that would be quite a radical change from the Top Gear of today.
It would be a radical change, but it would be, and initially the ratings would drop. Don't get me wrong, they would, but once the show kicks in and that formula takes hold, Chris Harris will flourish into that TV role, and I just know he will. He's one of those people. Jensen Button I think he'll adapt very, very quickly to life on TV, and obviously he's really good. Chris Harris is a good enough driver as it is, and so is Vicky Butler Henderson. But to have Jensen Button there, an actual race driver that talks, would really help, because they could do. Because let's think about it, they could test racing cars in that show and have an actual racing driver tell you what it's like to drive the racing car. That opens up a whole new avenue, and there's a lot they can do, and I think Top Gear are starting to run out of ideas on their whole skit style show that they're doing.
Yeah, I think it's like I said, Clarkson's suspension is possibly a sign that they need to move on and maybe try something else. It couldn't have come at a better time either, really, to be honest. Yeah,
it's something that I think needs to happen for that show to progress and move on, and in a positive way. Sticking with a motoring theme briefly, this isn't the Audi R8, that's coming up a bit later, but we had the F1 return today. The Australian Grand Prix happened, and a couple of things emerged. Some good, some pretty bad. First thing that happened, McLaren Honda only had one car start the race because one car blew up on its way to the grid. I'm not even sure if it blew up. I can't remember what happened. It had a malfunction before it even got to the grid. Because what they do is they leave the pits. They do a slow lap around the track as an installation lap, basically, and then they take their place on the grid before the pace before the safety car lap, and then the start of the race. But so one of the McLarens broke down on the way to the grid. That was brilliant. So only Jenson Button managed to start, and my God, that Honda have got a lot of work to do. That's one thing that I've learned from the Australian Grand Prix. That Honda have got a serious amount of work to do. That engine is not up to par, not even close. I mean, here's how F1 engines go, right? You've got Mercedes at the top, producing a very solid, strong engine. Then you've got Ferrari, who are producing a pretty good engine. Renault, who are producing a decent enough for the cars who run that engine to be competitive at least. And then you've got Honda, which you may as well just stick the engine from a Nissan Micra in your car. You'll probably go faster. It's that bad. Because they did this thing in in the build-up to the race, right? They showed the Mercedes in a straight line and the McLaren Honda. They both emerged from the corner at the same time. They show them dead level, and then it shows them going down the straight. And then by the time they got to the bottom of the straight, the Mercedes is miles ahead, and then it shows them through the rest of the sector. In the first sector alone, pretty much entirely in straight line speed, the McLaren has lost a second and a half of time in 1/3 of the lap. And this is Australia. It's not a straight line speed track, Australia, so it's really quite dire, that situation. So that's one trend I picked up. Another new trend is that the young new drivers are doing a very good job. That would be Max Verstappen, Carlos Sainz Jr., and in particular Felipe Nasr. Those guys did a very good job for their debut, I'd say. I'm looking forward to seeing how those guys develop. Ferrari are looking stronger again, which is much needed for F1, because although it's nice to see teams like Red Bull and Mercedes upsetting the established order, it's nice to have an established super brand like Ferrari competing with them, because F1 has three stalwarts of F1: McLaren, Williams, and Ferrari. It needs one of those superstars to really be competing. So it's good to see Ferrari back up there. And Vettel seems very much back on form. Now he's in a new environment, happy. And the biggest trend, though, unfortunately for anybody who likes competitive racing, the sad fact of the matter is this: Mercedes are 2.5 seconds faster per lap at Australia than the rest of the field. And it's a short lap at Australia, so expect it, and it's not even that technical a circuit, so expect them to be possibly 2 seconds a lap faster in Malaysia. It's gonna be a sucky year for inter-team battles, if you like, battles of the World Championship. And it also looks like Hamilton has got a lot of momentum going for him following last year's title win. So my prediction for the rest of the year, based on Australia, is expect Hamilton to win a lot, and expect him to win comfortably without any issues. And get past that and try to enjoy the battle behind Mercedes. Just basically ignore the battle for the win. Just enjoy the battle for third place, because that's where the actual entertainment's going to be. That's basically all I can really tell you about the F1 so far.
Yeah, I don't follow F1, everybody, so I have nothing to contribute. I'm just going to agree with everything that Glenn said, because his knowledge is going to be a lot higher than mine. So, yeah, good point, Glenn.
Yeah, I think I covered a lot of bases. Oh wait, I forgot to talk to you about ManaGP. Forget about ManaGP. They didn't even start an engine on their car at this Grand Prix. I think they were literally there because of the way the rules are set up. Right, they had to ship a car to Australia to officially enter the championship and to receive prize money from last year, because they were in for a good haul of prize money from last year when they scored points. So I think they literally just had to have a car in the pits at that race to legitimise their entry into this year's World Championship. But they had absolutely no intention of starting that car up because, and here's the thing, right? The scene in their garages, they had like literally 4 guys, 4 mechanics, and that's it. The drivers didn't even the drivers never once had racing overalls on. They were always in a shirt and shorts. Just before qualifying, it's like, okay, I don't think we're going to see the Manor car running today. Maybe they'll be there in Malaysia, maybe they won't. Truth be told, here's how bad that situation was, right? Manor didn't even have the piece of equipment which starts the car. They didn't even have that. Because the way that F1 cars start, right, it's not like a normal car where you put your key in the ignition, turn it, and then you go. An F1, you can't do that in an F1 car. They don't have starter motors like that. They have external starter motors where they basically stick a turner motor into the back of a car, and it's almost like an automatic crank, and it basically kickstarts the car externally. And then once it's running, the car basically runs itself through its onboard alternator and such. But it has no onboard starter motor. So basically, this Team Manor turn up without a starter motor, so they actually don't have a means to start the engine. So, yeah.
Solid strategy to win.
Yeah, that team's going to score a lot of points this year. Don't worry, I'm sure they're going to be real contenders. I mean, you never know, though. That car might actually be competitive. Who knows? Nobody's actually seen it moving yet.
It's basically like Scotland in the World Cup quarterfinals. It's just a pleasure to be here.
I think that's what it is, right? That is it. I mean, they signed 2 unknown drivers. Well, they're not unknown drivers, but rookie drivers who are allegedly paying for their seats, which isn't uncommon in F1 these days, by the way. So there's nothing really that odd there. In the small teams, guys normally pay for their seat. I mean, guys like Niki Lauda paid for their race seat when they first started. So don't take the piss out of them too much for that. But yeah, the thing with Manor is, I wish them all the luck. I really do. But they're using an updated version of last year's car, so they haven't even got a new car. They haven't started it up, and nobody's seen it moving yet. Their drivers have never driven an F1 car, and the first time they're going to drive an F1 car is going to be in a qualifying session. But then again,
up against their 3 opponents, essentially, it's like, if you were to put it into wrestling terms, it would be a 3-on-1 handicap match featuring Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, and Kevin Owens versus Titus O'Neil.
Well, you have to go quite a long way below Titus O'Neil. What I'm really thinking there is it's more like entire WWE roster versus Michael O'Shaughnessy. That's what this is. That's what we're talking about here. That's how much of an underdog Manor are at the moment. But then again, it's kind of an exciting moment for F1, really, because we still haven't seen what that Manor is capable of. You never know. It could just go onto the grid and then just be 2 seconds a lap faster than Mercedes. I really don't think that's going to happen, but hey, until it happens, it's unproven. You never know. That car could do 1,000,000 miles an hour, maybe more. We don't know this yet. So far, it's a complete unknown.
And maybe the rookies are actually very well educated. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe the rookies are secretly 2 Ayrton Senna level drivers. You never know. But yeah.
Fingers crossed.
You never know. I'm excited to see Manor race. I have a feeling that will be an interesting debut whenever it happens. So, moving on. Here's an interesting topic. Okay, so Andy last week suggested bringing in maybe a sciencey segment of the show to sort of enlighten and expand everybody's minds into the weird and wonderful world in which we live in. So, taking his advice, I found a news story about the environment, which kind of links in with science. Apparently, the global CO2 emission output has stalled for humanity. And what that means is, if you take the human species' global CO2 footprint, for the last couple of years, normally in growth periods, in periods of economic growth, our CO2 output as a species generally tends to grow and get bigger. But at the moment, it hasn't, and it hasn't actually been growing for the last 5 years. Apparently, we're basically staying where we are, and apparently even shrinking, which is really interesting. So what that means is we are living cleaner.
Big hooray. Sorry, I'm just tucking into another cinnamon bun. That makes me
I've
wonder.
got another cinnamon bun. I'd like another cinnamon bun. Where's my other one? That's down there. I'll get it in a minute.
Well, my outlook on that is, you hear all these stories all the time about they're saying, oh, global warming is a myth, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, maybe there's a slight amount of credibility in that, because for the last 5 years, our footprint hasn't grown any bigger and could be shrinking. So was global warming just, what was global warming all about?
Well, you know as well that I can't remember if it's the Antarctic or no, I think you also know that the polar ice caps are actually expanding as well, right? That's happening. Although apparently the Antarctic is shrinking, so apparently as one shrinks, one's getting bigger. So everybody panicking about the shrinking Antarctic or ice caps. Yeah, well the other one's just growing at the same rate, that one's shrinking. So it's like a seesaw.
Yeah, basically the almost the opposite of what they said was going to happen actually happened. As in,
Yeah.
they were saying by 2012 the world's going to be a massive smoke screen of like smog and emissions, and we're going to destroy the planet, blah blah blah. And it's like, well, for the past 5 years, especially considering, as you said, economic expansion, add to the fact, as time goes on, if anything, I think we're burning more fossil fuels to burn more power stations to power things like the internet, mobile phones, tablets, PDAs, things like that. With all that economic growth and all that need for fossil fuels to burn to make electricity to keep these things running, which you would think would make the greenhouse effect or the ozone layer, global warming and everything in general a lot worse. Well, if anything, it's actually starting to get better. So
yeah, and I think I have an explanation for that. No doubt, as a species, as more people exist in the world living at the same time. It used to be 6 billion when I was in school. It's now 7 billion people, right? No doubt, our energy need, our consumption of energy and electricity must be going up. It just has to be. It's just more people, more energy needed, right? That's basically the way I see it. And yeah, I think as well as I think it's also we've seen a shrink in burning fossil fuels in, say, power stations. There are less fossil fuel power stations around, I believe, than ever before. And I think a lot of those old school power stations are being replaced with very efficient wind farms, solar farms. I know we're also using hydroelectric power now. We're using the power generated on the waves. We're also importing a lot of electricity from countries that use nuclear power. And I know that apparently there's going to be, where is it? Is it Dorset? I think it was Dorset somewhere. They're planning to build a new nuclear power station here in England. Can't remember what the name of that place is called. I might just look it up in a minute. Tell you later on whatever you're talking something. And I think the thing is, we're starting to use much more efficient means of producing electricity and cleaner means. And on top of that, now that we have so much experience with fossil fuels, we're starting to be able to use them in a much more efficient way. I mean, if you want an example of that, think about, for instance, my car, 2005 Renault Clio 1.4. It's not a gas guzzler. It's not a major toxic car, and yet it produces almost 3 times the amount of CO2 as, say, a McLaren P1, Ferrari LaFerrari. Basically any super or performance car today, modern supercar this is, practically all of them are more clean and friendly to the environment than my Renault. And that's in 10 years worth of development. So if that's what's happening in car terms, God knows what's happening everywhere else.
Well, that does make you wonder how, I know over time they have built more efficient ways of gathering electricity. But at the same time, still with the growth and stuff, I mean, an extra 1 billion people, that's still going to have quite a big impact on the environment, just in the fact of, even simple things like people using, let's say, body spray. That's harmful to the environment. Things like, obviously, people that still use petrol cars, petrol going into a car, that still harms the environment. And if anything, I don't think cars on the road have decreased at all. Not by a significant number, anyway.
No, there are more motorists than ever before. Yeah, I know that.
Exactly. So you figure all the clean ways that we're living. At the same time, there's a lot of us that are still in dirty habits. So if that's still the case, then the greenhouse effect, global warming, would still be continuing. I mean, it may have gotten to a halting point, but if it's at the point where it's starting to shrink, it makes me wonder if possibly all that time ago people are like, oh, global warming's going to destroy the planet by 10 years time, we're going to be on complete meltdown and the planet's going to be flooded, blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, that hasn't happened. So what's going on? Even with the advent of cleaner electricity, there's still a lot of pollution being chucked up into the air. So how come it's getting smaller all of a sudden?
I don't really know. It's a mystery, really, but it's a good thing that it's happening, because it must be a sign that we are getting more mature as a species and more aware of our planet and the fact we actually have to look after it, because, like it or not, we have to live here, so might as well take care of the place. I also found out what the nuclear station I was talking about was. It's called Hinkley Station C, and it wasn't in Dorset, it was Somerset, so at least it was a set.
Well, yeah, you were 1/3 right.
Yeah. Got 3 letters correct.
But yeah, I think with the nuclear power, I think now that they've managed to get it to a point where it's safe to handle and can be used to generate power, with nuclear power, I think we will, there will be less need for electricity if we can run everything off a nuclear rod, which lasts for 60 to 80 years, whatever. There won't be that much need for electricity, so the actual gas levels will go down, they will reduce. So I'm all for building a nuclear power plant as long as we're not going to have another Chernobyl on our hands.
Well, the thing's got the go-ahead apparently, so it will be happening at some point. Yeah, I mean, you can never really guarantee something like Chernobyl won't happen, but the one thing that you can almost see, there are factors that I think contributed to what happened in Chernobyl. One of them being surely build quality. I really don't believe that thing was built to the specification that the Iron Curtain told everybody it was, or at the very least told its staff it was. And I don't think the people who were in charge of that really had the proper information on how to run that place. It's just what's the word? The impression. That's it. That's just the impression I get from watching documentaries. And Chernobyl's a major point of fascination for me, so I have watched a lot of documentaries about it. Yeah, I get the impression that the people running that place really, really weren't all that clued up in a way that they really should have been. Anyway, and then there was another incident recently in Japan with the tsunami and all. But then again, you can never really guarantee that something like a natural disaster won't happen. So it's difficult to say. But all you can say on that front, though, is the UK has a pretty stable climate compared to places like Japan and America. We don't see so many natural disasters.
No, the worst we get usually is a bit of flooding.
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, Somerset's normally quite a good place for weather anyway. I know it's known for being quite a very pleasant place for the part of the country weather-wise. So it's unlikely something like that's going to happen to Hinkley. And in terms of building the thing and making sure, I think people have learnt their lessons from Chernobyl, and I think are being a lot more careful. I think there's a bit of complacency that crept in with Chernobyl, and I don't think you'll see creep in again. But
if you're interested in Chernobyl, did you ever hear about Nanskuk?
Actually, no, I didn't.
Down here in our homeland, in our home country, did you never hear about Nanskuk and the CS gas?
No.
You've never heard about that? The production of sarin that run for nearly 20 years in a factory that should never really have been commissioned. It was absolutely terrible.
No, I didn't know about that one.
Well, that could be a topic for next week then. You'll have to look that up at some point.
Maybe.
And to be fair, it's about...
The only one I really know about is Hemel Hempstead.
Well, yeah. But Nanskuk is it was a very dark secret. It was kind of a cover-up by the government as well. But basically, put it this way, without us, there would never have been any CS gas at all. CS gas would not exist. So it's an interesting read, and to be honest, the location from us is about 40-odd miles away. It's not very far.
Okay. Wow, hey, maybe we should do a joint documentary about the place.
Nanskuk, it's a very interesting story as well. I'll send you some links and stuff in a bit, but yeah, that could be one to discuss next week. I won't start getting into it now because there's loads to talk about with it.
I'll tell you what, though, for a first go at this sort of sciencey, and as I say, educationally enlightening topics for Host Pro, I think this has been quite a good start. This has been a pretty good, interesting conversation. Yeah, we've just been a show known for entertainment and basically rambling and me telling me I'm gonna kill people in weird ways, and being a general entertainment show, and actually just got really intellectual. Jesus, we're adding strings to our bow here.
If you hear anything weird, that's Smudge. He's just managed to turn the printer on somehow. I don't know how he managed to do that.
He's a clever one. I'll tell you what I did see though online recently is something that Paige put up on her. Well, what's the sort of 15-second one called? I can't remember. It's one of those, the ones that you do short videos on, and she basically
Instagram maybe.
Is it Instagram? I think it's Flickr. I think it might be called.
Possibly, yeah.
Something along. It's one of those ones. But she sent a video to Natalia, and her cat, Paige's cat, jumps up and opens the door, yeah.
Yeah, well, your cat can't turn on a printer page. Mine can.
Yeah, there you go. We'll have to make sure I'll have to get Paige on the show one day so we can tell her that in person. Your cat is inferior to Smudge.
I'm sure she'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I think we'd quite instantly lose Paige as a guest, so we'd have to do that last. I think we'd have to wait until all the other topics are done. Could you imagine if we did have Paige or something like that on the podcast, and we started talking about Hemel Hempstead?
Well, she'd probably be quite interested in that.
Really? Don't you think, though, if she were to join us as a guest on the podcast, to expect mostly to be talking about wrestling and her career, and it basically interview with Paige, and we're not. We're going to be talking about Hemel Hempstead, Formula One, Jeremy Clarkson.
Yeah, but that's quite relevant to Paige because she's from England. So.
True, but I'm also thinking about. I have genuinely did send out a tweet to guys like AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, and I have actually tweeted Paige. Didn't get a response. I imagine my tweets got lost in the shuffle somewhere. I imagine they get tweeted a lot, those types of guys. But I did try to reach out to them, and I would have been absolutely stoked if one of them had actually responded and said, "Yeah, we'll do your show." Because can you imagine how many more ratings that would generate? It'd be amazing.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a pipe dream, but anyway.
You never know. We're only 7 episodes in. It might happen by episode 30 at some point. Don't know what the future holds, my friend. You never know. I think I should probably get the last topic that only I really have any experience of out of the way, and that would be the Audi R8 very quickly, which means I should have a picture ready for you, and I shall get a picture ready for you, so I can quickly talk to you about the Audi R8, because it's a very important car for Audi. The original R8 was a very, very, very popular machine. And the new one will probably continue on that trend as being a very drivable supercar. And I think that's not the new one. That was a concept picture for the new one. Let's see if I add Geneva to that, will it show me a good picture for you? Come on, I want a good picture. Show me. That's it. That's what it looks like. There you go. That's a good one. Right. Right. Whilst that. Fuck me! It's a 2,000 pixel picture. There you go. That's actually a very good quality picture. So we'll use that. Prepare for screen share, and I'll try not to quit out when I come back off it. That is the car we're talking about. It's the new Audi R8. Like I said, very important car for Audi. Current details that we know about from Geneva are that it will have a V10 engine like its cousin, the Lamborghini Huracan. Not going to be as powerful as the Huracan, though. You can either have the base model R8, which will produce 533 brake horsepower, or if you've got a little bit more money, you can go for the R8 V10 Plus edition, which will produce 602 brake horsepower. So it's not quite up there with similar cars, i.e. the 488, the McLaren 675, and oddly enough the Lamborghini Huracan. It's not producing that kind of power, but then again the R8 never really was. It was always a bit more. It was always a bit of a cheaper supercar where it was more like a more everyday supercar than those really hyper sports cars that you could get. Performance figures kind of reflect that, actually. 0 to 62 takes 3.2 seconds. This is for the V10 Plus, I'm quoting here. And the top speed is 205 miles per hour, which is fine if you're competing against the Ferrari 458 Italia. If you're competing against the Ferrari 488 GTB, it's not fine because the 488 is faster than that. But it's also quoted as being 50 kilograms lighter than the previous cars, so it should be quite nimble in the corners, and should be better in terms of emissions and all sorts of good things. Basically, less weight in a car is nothing but good. Nothing bad comes from losing weight in cars, or in general, really. The price, I said this is more like a lot of high-end sports cars like the Ferrari, the McLaren, all that. They'll all cost you high-end 175 grand normally. That type of ballpark. I know the Huracan is somewhere around there, but the R8 is as far as performance cars go, is pretty much a bargain. If you go for the V10 Plus, which is their higher spec model with the 602 brake horsepower, you can pick up an Audi R8 that looks just like that for 137 grand, which isn't cheap, obviously, but it's cheap compared to other sports cars that you can get. I don't know why I'm bothering doing loads of hand gestures. I don't know. You guys probably don't. You guys can't see me because I've got screen share on, but I do freaking millions of hand gestures when I do these segments. It's all lost on you because only I can see it. But never mind. It's also worth pointing out that it is based on the Lamborghini Huracan because they share a chassis, basically, four-wheel drive. I did, if I'm not mistaken, I did have a price listed for the. I didn't write the price down for the entry level R8, but I believe if you want a base spec R8 with 533 brake horsepower, not the V10 Plus, I think you can pick up an entry level one for around £117,000. So 20 grand less, you can have the 533 brake horsepower car. But that is the Audi R8. Like I said, it is a very, very, very important car. Take the screen off. There you go. I managed to not quit out the stream this time.
That's progress from last week, or the week before.
I've got to say, I think that car looks lovely as well. I didn't mention it in terms of styling, but I think that's quite a nice looking car.
It's a very good looking vehicle.
But then again, no, I shouldn't really reference that Ram from yesterday. I said some very, very
naughty.
Yeah, I said some very bad things about Audi drivers.
But technically, you're not incorrect. I'm just saying.
Okay, technically I wasn't, and earlier that day on my way home, I did get cut up and almost crashed into by an Audi driver, which is what prompted that part of my rant. But I would love that Audi. That is a lovely car. They are lovely cars, Audis. They generally are.
Sign of quality.
Mm-hmm. In a very big way. Which reminds me, there's an Audi I really need to take a look at soon. Somewhere on the it's basically parked on the road for sale, but it's an A3, and it looks like it's in pretty decent nick. So I might want to take a look at that because I thought when I passed it the other day, so it said something like £1,800. I was like, I want that. So I'd love an Audi A3. I don't know. I think they're quite good cars. Anyway, I still talking about cars. We've talked a lot about cars. I've talked about a lot about cars today, in terms of F1 and all that. But we've counted it with a lot of environment talk and a lot of Clarkson talk and a lot of wrestling talk as well. So I think we've got a good balance, I think, so far. Shall we move on to the main entertainment segment?
Yeah, I'm intrigued with this.
Okay. Would you rather's then? I didn't go for any sort of disgusting would you rather's this time. I went for a couple of interesting ones. I.e., so the first one I found, which because I always go onto like the Would You Rather Reddit to get these as well, because there's always new ones every week, so it's very good if you want new Would You Rather's. So for this week, I found this one. Would you rather die a hero in your own eyes and a villain in everybody else's, or would you rather it be the other way round? I.e., you consider yourself a villain, but everybody else thinks of you as a hero. So it's a tough one, isn't it?
Well, kind of. But I mean, I suppose going down as a villain, but everyone thinks you're a hero, is kind of cool. Like,
yeah. So where you think of yourself as a villain, but everybody else thinks you're a hero.
Yeah, kind of like an anti-hero kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought about that. It's kind of a good idea.
Because what would be the point of dying a hero in your own eyes and a villain in everybody else's?
Yeah, it's literally pointless, isn't it?
That's very self-absorbed, I think. If you wanted to die as a hero, but fucking piss everybody else off along the way.
Yeah,
okay,
that basically means you're a Bond villain. If you do that, you're a Bond villain. You just got shot by Her Majesty's Secret Service. Congrats.
Yeah, I think, you know, considering yourself a villain, yet you're actually a hero, I think would probably be better. It'd be a very tormented life, but at the same time, if what you think you're doing is bad, but it's actually good, and it's actually helping people, and people think you're a hero for it, why shouldn't you go with option 2?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's a very... I think that's the way it is. I think you'd be... I think you'd end up feeling a bit down about yourself, but I think other people would pick you up. And people can be a pick-me-up if they say nice things about you.
Probably that probably explains why I'm so miserable then.
Yeah, because nobody ever says anything nice about you. Except for that you have lovely hair.
Who the hell says that?
I don't know. I heard it once.
That better be some kind of ironic, moronic statement, because my haircut is just like one of the worst. I cut my hair myself. That's how cool my hairstyle is.
Well, it was Jeremy.
God.
But actually, he was talking about your hair a month and a half ago. It was. I don't know why I remember it, but I remember it.
Well, that's probably because that's when I looked a bit like a military guy, and Jer probably likes the big, you know, larger, dominant military-style man in the showers kind of scenario. I can see where this is going. God damn it, Jer! I am never going near a soap aisle with him.
Oh, I want Jer on my podcast because he would.
I've got a great idea actually. The next time I'm on with him of a morning, I'm going to wear my like army t-shirt and my dog tags. I'm just going to walk in and go, "Hi, Jer." Make sure my hair's cut exactly the same and everything as well, with the spiky bits at the top.
I really need to get Jer on this podcast. He would be such a fun. He would be a funny addition.
He would be.
Because you know Jer would turn up stoned as well. Jer would be on the podcast completely stoned off his head.
Probably. But that would make it twice as funny.
That's why it'd be even funnier, yeah.
Because Jer is a funny personality. But yeah, I can... Okay, so I have nice hair, but... What was I saying? Yeah, the reason I was so miserable is because nobody ever says anything nice about me. Again...
Yeah.
I'd like to think you've known me long enough that I don't really care if people like me or not.
I've known you long enough to know that you wouldn't care if somebody called you a total prick?
Probably not. I'd probably just say, okay, you've only just worked this out.
Yeah, that's probably what you'd say, or something along the lines of, well, you're entitled to be wrong, or something along those lines.
Or just like, I don't agree with what you said, but you said it, so it's done now. What do we do now?
Exactly.
Do we have a fight or something, or do I give you money?
Do I fight you or what? Yeah, that's how it goes. Yeah, I'm very much the same way. I mean, don't get me wrong. And like, I say thank you for compliments, but at the same time, say something negative about me, and I fucking flip my shit. I get very, very argumentative and very standoffish very fast. Actually.
No, I have a tendency to do that, but not as much now that I'm older. I've kind of calmed down a little bit as I've gotten older.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking the couple of times I've read some, I've heard some negative comments about me on this podcast, the things that spewed forth from my mouth. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure I would just brush a negative comment off. I'll probably do the Taylor Swift song thing and just write a song about how much I don't care. Because that's obviously how much I care that I took the time to write a whole fucking song, compose a whole music video, just to tell you I don't care.
So I think the thing is because you're a bit younger than me as well. Not much. I think because as you get older, you'll kind of develop more a sort of. I was probably in the same place as you were, like maybe 5 years ago when I was closer to your age, where somebody said anything to me and I'd be like, fuck you, I hate you, blah blah blah, whatever. But now I'm just kind of like, okay, whatever, you hate me, big deal. Let's move on. Let's go and get an ice cream or something.
Yeah.
You get to a point where you just don't care.
Well, I'm more like, yeah, let's get an ice cream so we can eat our ice creams, and then when we're finished with our ice creams, I can stick my cone right through your fucking eye socket, you prick. That's more my approach to it.
You'll get there, don't worry.
Yeah, I probably will. I need just a lot more weed, and then I'll be there. So that leads me on to the next Would You Rather. Yeah, it doesn't really. The next Would You Rather's got nothing to do with weed at all. It's would you rather spend 10 minutes in shark-infested waters or crocodile-infested swamps? Either or is a bad choice. It's either would you rather get killed by a shark or killed by a crocodile?
Well, the thing is with sharks is they don't attack unless they smell blood.
Well, I don't suppose they actually have to attack. It says shark-infested waters. Yeah,
it doesn't say that sharks are attacking you. I mean, gators they'll just grab you and gator roll you and you're dead. Whereas sharks, they're predatory animals, but their predatory instinct is triggered whenever they smell blood. It's not so much they're not just swimming along going, because I mean they survive off fish and stuff mostly. They don't really. They're not. I don't want to say they're not nasty. Because I mean they can be, but I mean, how many videos do you see people like swimming in shark-infested waters and they haven't had a scratch on them?
Yeah, exactly. As well, it doesn't specify what type of shark it is either. So you could basically cheat and just say, well, if I'm swimming in whale shark-infested waters, no biggie. They would just leave me alone.
Or those like mini ones. What are those little tiny ones called that don't have any teeth?
Sand sharks.
Possibly, yeah. The ones that. They're basically just like a big cod with a fin on it. So that.
Yeah, I know which ones you're on about. Yeah, you see them in aquariums all the time. There's also like blue reef tip, which are basically tiny little things. So basically, they're barely even the length of a computer desk, and not even as tall as a computer monitor. And they're actually quite cute-looking sharks.
Yeah,
you can see them in the blue reef aquarium.
The thing is, crocodiles or alligators, whatever, they're just nasty fuckers. They'll just grab you and kill you.
If you're in a croc-infested swamp, as well, it's a guarantee you're gonna die.
Yeah, pretty much.
You don't have to spend. I mean, you wouldn't spend 10 minutes in a crocodile-infested swamp. You'd be dead in 2. You're more likely dead in 1.
And at least with sharks, and as well, they never said how far out the sharks could be. They could just be in a tank offshore.
Well, they say shark-infested waters. Exactly. In a swamp, it's much more. Well, the thing actually said crocodile-infested waters, but the thing is, the type of waters that crocs infest are more swampy anyway, so that's why I said swamp. But it's like, yeah, I don't really want to get into the water with a croc. Plus, you wouldn't see it coming. It'd be a very aggressive, very painful death. More likely to drown to death, because that's more croc style. They just minimum force necessary. They just grab you, pull you down, drown you, and then gator roll you. So you get completely dismembered, so that's not pleasant. And hey, at least if you end up in shark-infested waters, and it's great whites, well, their attacking style is very different. If you're on the surface, say, then a great white shark is not going to swim up to you at your eye level and bite you. That's not really their style. Their style is they dive down and then swim up at an incredibly large amount of speed, and by the time you know your attack's happened, you're already dead. So at least you die before you know you're being attacked with a great white shark.
And because they're predator animals, like I said, they wouldn't attack you unless you had a fresh cut on you or something. Then you'd be fucked.
Yeah.
And if you had a scuba suit and like full protective gear on, yeah, I would pick shark waters.
Exactly. I think sharks are more preferable to crocs. I think crocs are quite very intimidating in real life.
They're territorial as well. They're very grumpy as well. they don't like strangers very much.
Plus, if you're in shark-infested waters, if you happen to have like a killer whale pod nearby, then you're good to go because killer whales kill and eat sharks. So as well, you also got that benefit.
Hence the term killer whale.
Exactamundo. By the way, it's incredible killer whales. They really are incredible. I should do a topic about them. If we extend like science to like natural science as well, killer whales are going to be a fascinating topic because they really are awesome creatures.
I think that could be good for next week. I think maybe killer whales and Nadscu are two topics that could be on the list next week.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like this idea, previewing topics for next week. I'll have to write them down once the show goes off air. But there was another topic I thought about because I was going through my Facebook page the other day and I forgot completely all about this. I was going to talk about it last week, and I almost forgot about it for this show. But as I was thinking about entertainment segments, because I think the show's currently been going for about close to 2 hours. Must be.
Yeah, near enough.
Yeah, 9 minutes away from 2 hours. Oh, hello, got notifications. Someone responded, "No to watching Host Pro, you ripped cord 35C, you are a total fucker." Fucker responding, no. Why wouldn't you watch Host Pro? It's amazing. Why did I click off? I can't remember why I clicked off the page. Anyway, yeah. So the topic I had in my mind that just popped in, Spider-Man. Sony have finally relented and have allowed Marvel to use Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Thank Christ, thank God, thank God. It's about time, it's about time, it is about time. Yes! Spider-Man is going to be an Avenger. Let's be honest, Spider-Man, when you look at the cast of the Avengers, you got all the really popular guys from Marvel there already, save for maybe Hawkeye and Black Widow. They're not really that well known, but you got Thor, you got Captain America, you got Iron Man, you got the Hulk, all of whom are big name Marvel characters. And the one real big Marvel character that's missing is Spider-Man. And that's not going to be the case anymore. He's not going to be in Avengers 2, which should point out that film's finished filming and it's being finished post-production for a summer release. But we're possibly in Avengers 3, assuming the scripts aren't already finished for that. We're going to have a standalone film to tie Spider-Man into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Apparently, it's not going to be. From what I've heard, we're not going to see Spider-Man from Sony. So it's possible it won't be the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man that we've become used to over the last two Spider-Man movies. And it's probably not going to have any of that canon or tie-in. It's going to be a completely separate Spider-Man. But at the very least, the character's there. So that's the important thing to take from this. So we're going to have a standalone Spider-Man movie to tie him into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and get him introduced to it. And then apparently, possibly, it's a rumor, it's not confirmed, but he might even be in the main Avengers ensemble come the third Marvel film, which apparently they're going to go through like 8 phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's really like a movie version of a TV series, the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, it's basically a it's skipping through the generations as well, I think, isn't it? It's taking all the characters and trying to sort of build subplots on each of the characters as well, which means you're going to have a lot of films to describe that. And now with Spider-Man coming in as well, you're going to be drawing in a lot of fresh eyes to the product, which is in turn going to make the movie even bigger than what it would have been already, which, I mean, if it's a summer release this year, number 2, it's going to be the biggest box office draw, I wouldn't say maybe in history, but definitely of this summer and many summers past. And then number 3, you add Spider-Man as well. It's probably going to be like one of the top grossing films of all time.
Oh yeah, I mean, the first Avengers broke records, and ever since the first Avengers, Marvel have been on a golden run, a golden streak. You're wondering, when are they going to slip up? Because they have to slip up at some point, right? There's got to be a moment where Marvel cock it up, because they're hitting home run after home run after home run at the moment. Ever since the first Avengers, the Avengers was their first real home run. I mean, the Iron Man 1, I suppose Iron Man 1 was a pretty good home run. It was close to a home run, but not quite there. But it was a very good attempt. It was a very, very, very good attempt. Okay, Iron Man 2 wasn't so great, but most of the Phase 1 independent films, like the Hulk, Captain America, First Avenger, and Thor movie, they were pretty good. But the first real home run, where Marvel just took it and knocked it out of the park, over the next park, and then the ball landed 3 parks down the road from the park it got knocked out of, was the first Avengers movie. And ever since then, they've been hitting them out the park. With Thor: The Dark World was a very, very good watchable film. Iron Man 3 pissed a couple of people off for understandable reasons with the Mandarin thing, but trying to ignore that, it was still a watchable film. Okay, maybe not hit out of the park with that one, at least hit into the stands though. And then along came Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and that was a really good film. That was really well directed, open only to minute criticisms, and it was real nitpicking shit you had to do to find fault with that film. So that's really, really good. I mean, if the people from Honest Trailers can pick millions of holes in your film and make it seem like a stack of shit, then you're doing really well. And the Honest Trailer for that was, in the Honest Trailer for Winter Soldier, they had to go in a really well directed and thought out film. Well, we had to be honest. And then along came the one that I keep on harping about, Guardians of the Galaxy. That came along, and that was literally, that wasn't even knocked out of the park. That was knocked off this planet. It bounced off the moon, and then into a park on a completely different continent of the planet. That's how hit out the park that one was. So you're wondering when they're going to slip up, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But it doesn't look like they're going to yet. And now they have Spider-Man. It's like, what the fuck are they going to do now?
I just wonder if they're going to slip up. Maybe they'll make a remake of The Punisher or something.
Oh, yeah, that could be a slip up.
Do you know what? That film actually wasn't that bad. It was terrible, but it wasn't that bad. I've seen worse films. Come on, Kevin Nash as the Russian? I thought it was Heidenreich when I first watched it.
Although, mind you, do you remember Blade 3? That had Triple H from the enemy vampires.
And unfortunately, Blade 3 wasn't quite as good as the other two.
No.
But yeah. First Blade, I thought.
My movie went straight to DVD, just like yours.
But no, I mean, the actual film Trinity had a good showing. It was just the worst of the 3, unfortunately. Basically, just cheesy gags, trying to build off like, oh, we've got a wrestler in this time, and Ryan Reynolds, and Wesley Snipes is coming back, blah blah blah, and the guy from Prison Break who played Drake, I forget, Dominic Purcell, that's the one. Yeah, but yet I'm trying to think what was the worst Marvel film I've ever seen.
Oh. Probably the one that jumped straight into my head was Iron Man 2. That one wasn't so great. That one was meh.
Yeah, but see, even in the older days, the crap films were still kind of good. Like, I mean, Daredevil, and you must have seen that.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a very good shout.
Yeah, but see, everyone says that film's terrible. I didn't think it was that bad. I have seen a lot worse films than that. Okay, Ben Affleck.
Yeah, I've seen worse, but okay, it wasn't good though.
Yeah, in terms of Marvel films, actually, I think one of them should be Catwoman with Halle Berry in it.
Wait,
no, that's DC. Yeah,
Catwoman's DC. Yeah.
Yeah, that's DC. Yeah. What am I thinking of? What's the one they did? Elektra. That was the one.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, I know which one you're on about.
Mm. Okay, that might possibly be the worst Marvel film I've ever seen, apart from Elektra 2 as well. They actually made a sequel.
Yeah, that was a very, very, very ill-advised idea.
But going back to that, their biggest draw at that time, Marvel, from the period of, let's say, 2002.
But actually, now that I think about it, were these actual Marvel films, or were they just other film studios using Marvel characters?
No, they were officially licensed by Marvel and everything. And Stan Lee.
Was it produced by Marvel? Was it the Marvel Studios production?
Yeah, they had the actual Marvel logo. There was, I can't remember the production companies, but
yeah, right. I thought the actual Marvel Studios started up with the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Iron Man 1. I thought this was when they first opened their own actual studio, making their own movies.
This might have been when Marvel was in the collab stage about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like in the way that I think that's kind of how like The Dark Knight isn't actually a DC Comics movie. It just uses licenses for DC characters. I think that's what happened with Daredevil. I don't think it was an actual movie that Marvel produced themselves. I think it was one that they just lent out the rights to the characters and copyrights for the studios to make a film. If I'm not mistaken.
I think the Marvel Studios release, like you said, with Iron Man was kind of a big reboot for the company. Whereas before, they had a part in those films, and like you said, they'll issue the licenses, and they'll put forward a bit of, production money and whatever, but mainly it was taken over by the companies, hence Sony and Spider-Man. And at the same time, even at that time, Spider-Man was always their biggest draw. It was the biggest drawn film. Even Spider-Man 3, which was terrible, that actually might be quite high on the list of one of the worst films I've ever seen with Marvel. But
yeah, with Marvel characters at least, because it wasn't actual. That one is a good example of what I'm talking about. It wasn't actually a Marvel movie. It was a Sony Pictures movie.
Yeah, but even then, it still drew a hell of a lot of money. It is one of the highest grossing films of all time. I think it's like number 25 on the list or something. So
yeah, it's higher than you'd think based on the quality of the actual film. That's for sure.
But again, that's Spider-Man. So you figure you're bringing all that like mediocre success he had back then, and now putting it into the Marvel universe with them taking over and producing and directing it, it's going to be massive. Yeah,
because that's what I mean. I was trying to think of the worst movie that I know Marvel Studios produced, the movie studio Marvel, because I know they've always been letting out their rights to other companies like Sony and that to make their own films with.
Yeah.
I'd say out of the worst ones I know, it's definitely Marvel Studios that produced it. Probably Iron Man 2 is their worst film that they did themselves. But at the same time, when you look at, I suppose the obvious rivalry is Marvel versus DC, right? Well, what has DC produced by themselves? DC went down the same road as Marvel and took over control themselves and produced The Man of Steel, which I want to point out something. I enjoyed that film for what it's worth. I knew it wasn't going to be the happy-go-lucky Superman that people were used to. I basically knew that wasn't going to happen. As soon as I saw Christopher Nolan's name pop up as a producer, I knew, well, this is not going to be Christopher Reeve-style Superman. This is going to be new, it's going to be gritty, it's probably going to be dark. That's correct. It was all of those things, but my God, it has some spectacular effects on it. In fairness, and the action, what was it, the Smallville fight? That was epic. But at the same time, the movie is nothing like as entertaining as anything second-rate that Marvel's produced. Well, I'd say Superman Man of Steel is better than Iron Man 2, but it ain't as good as Iron Man 1, and that's their problem.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, the thing with DC as well is they don't really spend that much time developing other characters because the mainstay of their success is Batman and Superman.
True.
They don't really have any other massive, not off the top of my head, massive standalone, like, say, heroes. They've always been sub-heroes. Like, obviously, Batman and Robin. Obviously, you had Robin then, but he was always kind of the sidekick trying to get bigger. But that's not really... It's not like Marvel where you've got each superhero has a different superpower and has their own story. Like, Hulk, Iron Man, Thor... They've all got their own individual characters and stories, which is why when you bring them together, you end up with a massive thing. Whereas DC tend to go back to Batman, Superman, Batman, Superman remake, here comes Batman. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. I'm not doubting their movies are good and the characters are good. It's just the same two all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and that's it's weird that happens because there are a lot of major superheroes and big names in the DC portfolio, and I know they're good. I know there's 2 good TV series running with DC characters at the moment, and that's Flash. Obviously, the Flash. He's a major character who really ought to have starred in a big film by now. And I think Arrow is currently running at the moment somewhere. Don't know who's producing that show, but that one's obviously based off Green Arrow, who's basically the DC version of Hawkeye, if you really want a comparison. But they have got a lot of very good characters there. I mean, the other big ones I think of are the ones that became the mainstay of the Justice League cartoon back in, I think, the late 90s. Was you also have Wonder Woman, who is, if anything, I think Wonder Woman is the most famous superheroine of all time. Probably not anymore now compared to Black Widow of Marvel, but that's only because of Marvel's success. I think, and yet they haven't made a good film with Wonder Woman ever. And then you've got Green Lantern. Green Lantern. In fairness, his film was with Ryan Reynolds. I think it was. That was an absolute atrocious flop. Really, really, really should have been a lot better than it was. That film that died a million deaths in 1 second. That was a bad film. But then again, it wasn't a DC produced film, so you never know if DC actually had the. I think once you get companies like Marvel and DC producing their own films with their own characters, I think the studios are more invested in the movie and more invested in trying to do their characters justice.
Yeah.
So I think if DC were to make their own Green Lantern film, they might be better off. Obviously, Flash is another major DC character who could very well be in a good film. I think I mentioned him already, didn't I? Yeah, I did. And the other one that sticks in my head, which nobody seems to remember, is the Martian Manhunter. Basically an alien with ridiculous superpowers. And in fact, in some ways, the Martian Manhunter could probably stand up to Superman in terms of power. Possibly. He's one that I know. When I was in university, my Ukrainian roommate Ivan made a seriously good case for why Martian Manhunter would beat Superman every single time, but I can't remember his exact argument because I'd have to remember all the catalogue of his abilities. It's been a long time since I've seen Martian Manhunter. So
the other one we forget as well is Aquaman as well.
Yeah, so I was about to say Aquaman as well. There's the Justice League. In theory, should be better than the Avengers. In theory, but it doesn't always work it hasn't worked like that, of course. But obviously, the thing that DC is going to be doing, I think they are releasing. If I'm not mistaken, I think Batman vs Superman, Dawn of Justice. I think that releases this year. I think so. I might
think it's next year because they've. They've done. I know they've done concept photography and stuff, and obviously they've designed all the costumes and stuff. I don't think,
Yeah, and the teaser, and they've started filming it. When is it? It might be 2016. I might be wrong.
yeah, I think it's next year because I don't think they've started filming it just yet because obviously they've had to have time to write the scripts and there's been rewrites and obviously they've got to wait for Ben Affleck to get in shape and all the guys to get rounded up.
Yeah, we're right. It is next year, March next year.
And there's
This time next year.
Yeah, The Rock coming in as well. There was talks about him, wasn't there?
I think he's going to be in Aquaman somehow, isn't he?
No.
No. Oh, he's Shazam. That's another character that I forgot about. Shazam. He's another quite big
and he's
one.
going to play the villain, isn't he? I can't remember what his name is.
Like that.
But yeah, Shazam is another character. But besides those guys, yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think if they'd done what Marvel did all that time ago and actually built these movies, even if they'd been crap, at least they would have got some kind of exposure where they could have done a Justice League movie by now.
Yeah, and here's the kind of issue we've got building in. When you see characters like when you see Marvel do two characters in the same movie like they did with Winter Soldier, it was Captain America as the main event with a supporting buddy, i.e. Black Widow, who is a supporting character, obviously a member of the Avengers herself, so she's still a big player, but still very much in the back focus. I mean, I don't think Black Widow or Hawkeye are good enough in themselves to carry a standalone film.
At least not yet.
Yeah, at least not yet. I'd agree with that. But when Marvel does that, it works because they're more supporting cast anyway. They're more B-player Avengers, so to speak. They're B-plus players. You know,
they still get exposure in those big movies, which is good.
Exactly, yeah. And that's what Marvel does correctly. And they're big characters. They're A-plus players. Have all had independent movies before becoming the Avengers assemble. However, you look at what DC have done. Their DC universe at the moment has Man of Steel as a standalone film, and now the second movie in the DC universe is going to be Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. So you've got their two big main event players in the same film sharing screen time. Oh wait, but it's not just those two. Apparently, there's rumors we're going to see an appearance from Aquaman, and we also know Wonder Woman has already been cast. So Wonder Woman is going to be in the film as well. So you've got 3, possibly even 4 major Justice League players all in a film together, and it's not even the full Justice League yet. This is Batman's introduction, Wonder Woman and Aquaman's introduction into the DC universe in the same film. It's like, no. They're trying to fast track to catch up with Marvel, and they're going to hurt themselves, I think, in the long run, because there's no way you can give each of those characters enough screen time to develop them.
There's the old saying, isn't it? You don't run before you can walk. But basically, they've seen what's happened with Marvel, and they've gone, oh, yeah, well, I want to try doing that now. So instead of just having Batman versus Superman, which I think would have been a good film, now they're going to bring in 2 extra main characters to try and build them at the same time. It's like, no, that won't work.
I think what they ought to have done is maybe do a Wonder Woman standalone film, a Batman standalone film, and then another standalone film with one of the other characters, maybe Martian Manhunter, maybe Flash, maybe Green Lantern. Well, apparently, the Flash and Arrow TV shows are actually supposedly, I don't know if it's true or not, but supposedly tied to the DC Universe canon. I don't think that's actually true. I think that's just a rumor I read somewhere. So I wouldn't put any stock in that. But, they should have done 4 standalone films referencing what happened in Man of Steel. So, i.e., Batman should start in Gotham, but there should be references to what happened in Metropolis. And Superman give rise to the age of the superhero in the DC universe. So the other superheroes start coming up, and then maybe at the end of each of those standalone films, they meet another member of the DC universe briefly, go their separate ways, eventually teasing the eventual team up. But they haven't done that because because they know Marvel got a huge head start on them. They're trying to fast track their universe, and it's going to be so semi-developed compared to Marvel's that when the eventual Justice League full team Justice League movie happens, it's gonna be very underdeveloped, and I think more underwhelming.
Yeah, essentially they're just throwing a ton of cash at it and saying, "Oh, do what you want." So they're like, "Okay, we'll bring in 4 main characters who deserve 4 main films of their own. 2 characters already have. 2 are relatively unknown to the film universe. They're known to the comic book universe, but not the film universe. And then they're going to bring them all together in the hopes that Batman and Superman will essentially be able to carry those 2 characters." And it's like that's not really. You need to start. You need to start at the beginning. You need to start with the origin of that person and how they became that person, and then start doing tie-ins, which is what Marvel has done. They've already done all their own films, and now they've brought them all together.
Yeah, they've established all their key players already, and then as I think certain characters are going to be bowing out, they're going to introduce new characters. Again, same formula, standalone film, like the Guardians of the Galaxy. That film is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, standalone movie to establish the Guardians. Spider-Man's now going to be part of the Cinematic Universe, but they're not going to just throw him straight into the Avengers. No, they're going to establish him through their own independent film with him as the sole character to develop Spider-Man, and then they're going to put him into the Avengers. So you don't have a problem where if one character doesn't get as much screen time as the other, it being a big issue. Because everybody's still going to care about these characters because they've seen all the standalone films, so it doesn't necessarily matter if one guy doesn't get a huge amount of screen time.
Well, that's it, because you've already essentially established who that person is, and the director.
You already care, yeah.
The director or the studio or the artistic director, whatever, has managed to build their version of that person, Spider-Man, Hulk, Thor, whatever, and then bring them together, as opposed to just throwing them all together and seeing what happens.
Yeah, and I think DC have gone the very wrong way about it. It's very much, yeah. I will still see the DC films because I'm a superhero fan. I'm a fan of superhero movies. Can't wait for Marvel Avengers Age of Ultron. Looking forward to that. That's this year. That's where I get confused. Age of Ultron is this year, and that's going to be good. I think it's going to be good. Darker though, which is worrying because normally when films get darker, they get less entertaining. But
you look at the Dark Knight trilogy.
Well, true. Yeah, you know what? I think we'll be. I'm optimistic for that film. I'm not going to go in with expectations. I've learned my lesson. I don't go in with expectations. I go in with hopes.
Yeah.
But not expectations.
Yeah, optimism as well.
Yeah, it's optimism. It's not, I expect this is going to be good, and so I'm going to be disappointed if it isn't. It's like, I hope it will be, but if it isn't, well, tough.
Well, you've already paid your money. You may as well try and enjoy it, I suppose.
Exactly. It's very much like that. I think that about covers that topic. I've only got one more topic listed, and because Host Pro was originally set up in the vein of a gaming podcast, which is what it was going to be originally, and then it kind of just wasn't. It was just a general podcast. I still feel the need to put a gaming topic in there because my channel's still primarily video gaming, really. So I've got a topic about virtual reality and the Oculus Rift. And my topic is just how fucking much do you want one?
Very badly. Very badly.
A lot.
An Oculus Rift is the way forward. I've seen the videos, I've read up about it. That thing is awesome, and I really, really do want one. They need to start making a commercial available. Well, they need to start making it commercially available in England, I think, and in Europe.
Yeah, it's. I think virtual reality is starting to come of age a bit with the Oculus Rift. It's really started to become. It's the potential of it is starting to become really apparent, and also PlayStation have Project Morpheus going on. I know there's other virtual reality sets out there aside Oculus Rift that aren't as well known, and my God, virtual reality, the potential for it is brilliant, because apparently what a lot of people say is that it gives people such a feeling of presence in the game that it almost feels as if you're there. Like the one that apparently gets a lot of people is Ocean Rift, where you're basically just a scuba diver and you explore this underwater environment looking for screensavers of development. And yeah, apparently the one thing that really got me was when Jacksepticeye did a video of it. He comes across a whale, not sure what type of whale it's meant to be. I think it might be a blue whale. But the first thing he goes, "Whoa, that's huge! I've never understood just how big these things are until they're right there in front of your face." You know, it's like, holy shit! It's like I never think like that. If I'm playing, say, a dinosaur game on my PlayStation on the big TV, the TV shrinks it. But if I had my TV right here in front of my face, and as I looked around, different parts of the environment were scrolling as I was looking around, and basically I couldn't see any of the outside world and just what's in just the game. And I had a blue whale on my screen, and my screen was here. I suppose I would get a very, very, very impressive sense of scale, and that's what I'm looking forward to. So just the idea of this extra depth and realism, which I got.
No, I mean, it's made a comeback because, I mean, virtual reality was around in the 80s, as was 3D TV. 3D TV's made a comeback, and virtual reality now has been refined to a point where you get things like the Oculus Rift, and it's pretty amazing because it's not like it's not like looking at a monitor or a TV where you're playing the game and you're very aware you're playing a game. This is as close to real as you can get, really.
Yeah, that's the thing that a lot of people have said is how quickly they accept the avatar as themselves. Like it's in Ocean Rift when you go into the trench. I think it's supposed to be like a simulated Mariana Trench, just nowhere near as deep, where supposedly Megalodon could survive, as a story legend likes to go for those who can't accept Megalodon's extinct. In the game, it has a Megalodon that attacks you, and the number of people who shit themselves, like really, really badly shit themselves, and some people throw the Oculus Rift off their face because they feel like they've genuinely been attacked by a shark. It's like that, and I did see a video, very interesting video. It's just a demonstration thing, really. It wasn't even a game. It was just like a fantasy roller coaster video that you watch on your Oculus Rift, and these people were told. Some people were told to sit down. Some people chose to stand up for it. But the interesting thing is, as it was going up and around these corners, every single last one of them that were standing up fell over. Because apparently it tricked them into thinking they were really getting hit with G-forces, and they literally were leaning.
Yeah, it's all through just one thing that just fits over your eyes, basically, and that's it. It just uses two senses, which is sight and sound, to get you to feel, taste, and everything. So that's why virtual reality is taking a huge step, which is why I want the Oculus Rift to become commercially available, so I can buy one.
Yeah, that's the thing as well. It was a PC racing game, Assetto Corsa. I saw this guy, right, who plays Assetto Corsa regularly with, the regular screen and that, and with a controller in his hand. And he's quick at it. He's a good driver on Assetto Corsa, right? He's good at it and very fast. As soon as he put on the Oculus Rift, he was, I think his lap times were something like 10 seconds off the pace, because he was taking it so much more steady in the corners because he felt like he was there, and like if he crashed, he would get hurt. Is what you were saying.
Yeah,
I'd love to find that video again, but I can't remember which one it was.
No, that's why virtual reality is taking a massive step, and I think that's going to be the next big thing. It's going to be much bigger than 3D TVs, because 3D TV brings it out of your TV and into your living room. It's like great, but with an Oculus Rift, you actually feel like you're there and you're experiencing it.
Yeah,
I can't wait to try and get one.
That's what you. Yeah, you're right. 3D TV brings your TV into your living room, while Oculus Rift takes you from your living room to
wherever, basically.
Wherever the game is. Yeah. I mean, do you know what else though? Because apparently Oculus Rift's not just a gaming tool. It can be used as like a screen for like your mouse, or like in PC you can just view your computer screen on your Oculus Rift screen. what would be really cool would be like a channel like coasterviews.net. You know these guys, they post like POV footage of roller coasters from the front seat. I would love to just get an Oculus Rift, just sit down for like 3 hours and just watch roller coaster videos with the Oculus Rift, and put it on full screen as well, so that it really gets you on the immersion, because that would be awesome. Because what I'd like to do as well is then, before I go to roller coasters I don't know, I'd love to try it out on a roller coaster I have been on in real life, just to see how much I feel like I'm there as well. That'd be a very interesting test, I think, to do for me. Would be to watch, watch a video of the Incredible Hulk roller coaster with the Oculus Rift, because I've been on the Incredible Hulk roller coaster in real life. I know what that ride is like to ride in person. So it'd be interesting to see what it's like with the Oculus Rift.
Yeah, I think the Oculus Rift, because it basically takes you to wherever it is that the game is set. So I mean, they're still working out. I think it's still in like the sort of, I would call it the beta stages right now. Like they're just working on games and experiences before they can get a fully functional model that they can start commercially. I mean, they do commercially sell, but only really exclusively in America. So you can buy one, but it's an astronomical amount of money to get it delivered. Whereas if it was more commercialized, I think it would be a lot more accessible to people, and it would make people think differently about gaming as well, I think, in general.
Yeah, it does seem to be. I think in the past, I've always thought of virtual reality as a gimmick, but it's no longer a gimmick. I think it's genuinely becoming a widely accepted as possibly the next stage in gaming. And the interesting thing I would say about Oculus Rift is, I mean, it's only on developer kit 2 at the moment. That's all they've released. Second attempt at creating the Oculus Rift, and that's where it is already. Oh, in 8 years' time, I'm pretty sure we'll be playing games with virtual headsets that make Oculus Rift look like a children's toy.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm looking forward to games like, I mean, you take any game that you've played and it will make it so much better to have a sense of realism, like for people that like Call of Duty, for people that like you with, like, say, an F1 game, or something like something along the lines of Tomb Raider or something. If they could bring in like virtual reality, like pads or something on your hands, so you could like grip things and shit like that. I think that's probably what they're going to be working on next. Is doing like a sort of body, like body sensors or something.
Yeah, so, like a bodysuit which can simulate like textures on you.
Yeah, or like not even a bodysuit, maybe just like gloves or something that gives you like an interactive thing, so you can like shoot a gun or grab a steering wheel or something like that.
Yeah, so you mean so it sort of like simulates textures on your hands?
Yeah, so like if you had like, say, little pads on your hands, so you can simulate textures, so you could grab and essentially make like a 3D model of what you're looking at, but you can actually touch and interact with it, which I think could be the next step.
That is a very good idea. Yeah, that. They probably are working. I remember it was a while back now, but I remember reading rumors that they were going to be doing this sort of something like that. It was going to be like a kind of like a body armor style thing that you wore when you're playing first-person shooters, and when you get shot, I don't know quite how it does it, but it sort of pulses in the area that you get shot in the game, and it simulates a major impact on your person. So if you get shot in Call of Duty and you're an idiot and you stand out in the open, you're gonna get hurt when you're playing the game. Which, well, I don't know if it. I don't think it was gonna hurt people, but you'll feel.
Simulation, yeah. Like VR basically.
Like an open-fisted punch.
Yeah.
It'll be like, you got shot.
But again, like that edge to gaming is fantastic, and I can't wait for them to develop something like that in the near future, because then you'll be seeing a lot more host pros about how great the Oculus Rift actually is.
Yeah, I guess.
If anybody wants to donate an Oculus Rift, please feel free. If you've got the money to buy one and want to send it, that'd be great.
Yeah, we've got other investments that we need to be making soon to assist us with our immediate ventures and projects. Most notably, the the investment you're going to see first will be in UPW and crash mat, a proper crash mat, not a mattress, a foam crash mat, which isn't going to bounce us of like 6 feet back into the air and allow me to kick Marcus in the face when I slip out of the powerbomb. No, I'm just going to sink into the mattress, and that's going to be it. And
that poor mattress. I had to sleep on that mattress as well, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a shame for your mattress, really. Yeah. We killed it.
I have a new mattress. I have a new one, and it's amazing.
Yes, I need to sleep on it. Like, no, not sleep on it. Let's just lie down on it, like you said.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I know. I went on stage further. I was like, you invite me to lie down on your mattress. But I'm one of those people. I'm like, I'll lie down for like 2 seconds. I'll just fall asleep.
That mattress is very comfy. But yeah, that old rickety mattress, we're basically going to be chucking that and getting a nice shiny big crash mat to land on. So hopefully the quality of wrestling should improve.
Not only the quality of wrestling will improve as well, like the sound it makes when we land should be much improved, because it'll be non-creasable leather coated, so you'll get a proper slap as we land down as well, which will make things sound more painful, I imagine.
Yeah, that's an investment we're looking at for next month. So hopefully we're going to try and do one more session on the old mattress just for old time's sake, and then hopefully for the next edition of UPW, which would be episode 5 after the next one, it will hopefully be a much better experience for us and for you guys that watch.
Yeah, as well, the other thing that I'm thinking about investing in for UPW would be some actual UPW merchandise, i.e. UPW shirts will be coming. The thing is, I haven't featured me on my YouTube channel before, but I have now uploaded my character model to the servers on the Xbox live servers for WWE 2K15, and that's the kind of shirt we're going to create. So I mean, probably a black shirt with the UPW logo on the chest there, because I think the black and the red on black is a striking and standout combination.
With merch as well, I think it'd be good if enough people watch and they actually want to buy the merchandise off us. That would be amazing.
Hell yeah! You never know if things get popular enough, you might even get a merchandise range going. You never know. Things can always happen. Things can always develop, and it's interesting. I think at the moment my oh shit! What just happened? Oh, okay. I think my camera might temporarily disconnected there. I just got a big diddle-loon in my earphone, and then everything went blank.
I think it might have been your internet, because it came up with your logo, and then you came straight back on. So it could just be your internet.
Yeah, it could be. My channel's in quite a big period of growth at the moment, and it's growing faster with every day. Sometimes it sort of stops for a few days, but then when it kicks back in, it kicks back in quickly, and it's awesome. So it's lovely to have that happening. I would also thank Marcus for that as well, because I don't think Host Pro would be as good without Marcus. In fact, I know it won't be, because the last show I did, episode 6, was just a one-man show, because I cocked up bringing you into that show. I didn't even tell you it was going to happen. I forgot to tell you I was going to try and go live at 8. They didn't send you a list of any topics, so you weren't ready for the show. So that's really my fault. And then I tried to do a show. I did the show by myself, and as far as a one-man show goes, not the worst I've done. Old school Host Pro, a couple of those episodes were really pretty terrible, I'd say, in comparison to that episode, but still nothing like as good as these two-man shows.
Well, yeah, because I mean, it gives you something to bounce back off.
Yeah.
It's no fun discussing a topic when you've got nobody to discuss it with.
Yeah, because you just basically run out of material on it, and it's so. And I think ever since Host Pro came back, Host Pro's been a big driving force in the channel. A couple of my other videos are starting to take off a bit more now, and starting to starting to get a little bit more traction going. So that's pretty cool and pretty awesome. My channel's no longer just that. There's no longer just the I'm the worst train driver ever video, and that's it. There's a couple more videos now which are starting to get a couple more views. The quizzes I've done are starting to take hold in a bigger way. The top 100 wrestling things, I'm surprised that got as many views as it did, but that one's going quite nicely for considering how long it's been up. So I'm no longer that one video wonder, which is quite nice. And it's starting to filter out now. It filter more into the. I was actually quite surprised by my total. To be honest, I uploaded the video of the wrestling management game. I'm surprised that video's got as many views as it has. I thought that video would basically be one that I produced. Only people who are curious about the game would watch. Maybe that's all the people that are watching it, but I thought it'd be like a 19 views maybe at the most, but it's on 34 I think at the moment, and I was quite surprised with that. I'm pleasantly surprised it's got that many that quick.
Yeah, it's good. The past few months it's grown quite quickly actually, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting. It has got me thinking about a 1,000 subscriber special episode. My plan is, as it stands, where the hell did my phone go? I just had a thought. Where did my phone go? It was right here.
You're not sat on it, are you?
No. Wait, am I? It can't be. No. No. It was there on my desk. What the?
You didn't put it down when you retrieved a cinnamon bun, did you?
No, it's been on my desk ever since I played Demigods to start the episode. It's been right there the whole. I haven't touched it since.
It's not to your right, is it?
It's not on the floor. No, it's not on my chair. Is it underneath the Indian menu? No. That's weird. Why was I going to go to my phone anyway? I don't know why. I can't even remember why I was going to my phone. I just noticed it's not there. Yeah, I was gonna do like the. I'll expose my plans right now to hopefully start the hype build for that episode. I was gonna do like a montage of like the highlights of the YouTube channel so far, and set it to some Ring of Honor entrance themes, i.e. Miseria Canter is one that I've got in my head, because they did that for CM Punk's final episode. They played like highlights from his career at Ring of Honor set to his theme song. So I was going to do that, and then I might switch to Demigods to basically add some length, because I think there's going to be a lot of stuff to put on that kind of a video. And I'm thinking about just basically having like a static shot of my. Maybe have a static shot of this of this sort of webcam, there, and then and having the music play, have the next theme song play, and then slowly, and then I just appear on the camera saying thank you, something along those lines, and then the video cuts into Live in Fear by Bray Wyatt with a preview for 2 videos you might not have seen yet thing.
I think that'd be a good idea, and you're closer to 1,000 every day as well. So
yes, I'm getting still a long way off, but still 300 so off, but I'm not so far off that I haven't thought about what I'd do, and I think there's definitely a lot of content I can put on that. I could put on a video like that, i.e. the bit where I crash the train into the back of another train. The bit where I swap the train, it's MLG. The Grey Fox edit, that's got to go on there. That was the moment of genius, guys. That was the moment of genius right there. I mean, I had a guy on a soldier, and I put a CM Punk quote, and I'm like, here's a pat on the back, Sean. I love that edit. That's so good. It's just so well done. There's moments when I'm driving the single-seater race car in real life that could go on there, all that type of thing. So, yeah, plenty of stuff I could put on it, and I think set to the right songs, done in the right way, it'll be a popular. I think it's a simple idea in my head. In my mind, it's not going to be extravagant, shitloads of edits, special effects this, green screen that. It's just going to be quite simple tribute to my channel, I think. And if it goes the way I hope it goes, it'll be great.
Well, 300 more subs and you'll be there.
Yeah, which is that's quite a thought, really. I still go back to that point where I just remember doing that Call of Duty commentary and basically spilling my guts out and thanking people profusely. And I had 34 subscribers. I think I'd done something like 100 videos at the time, so I've literally had 3 videos per subscriber. And so I just went on a massive, like, this was amazing, this is what I could have hoped for. And it was 34 subs, and I was just like, me now just looks at it and thinks, wow. And like, now look at you, you've got 657, you're starting to think about possibly 1,000, and it's when I think like that, I was like, yes, this is awesome.
It took a while, but you're getting there in the end. Oh
yeah, it is awesome. Really is cool, and it's humbling, really, in a very big way. As well with the show, because with Host Pro as well, it's quite humbling because I don't know who it is. I don't know who it is. I know I've been following the stream because I always follow the stream, so I can sort of flip back and check for comments, which I haven't seen any popping up. And there still aren't any popping up, unless if I maybe try and reload this. Maybe if I reload the thing, it might pop up with a comment or two. No, there's none on the stream that I can see yet. But so I've been following the stream all the way through the show, but that view count has been stuck solidly on 2 viewers throughout the whole show.
Do you not think the other person could be me?
Is it? Do you follow the stream as well when we're on?
I think so. I think I automatically follow it.
Yeah, but have you got the stream playing on your computer somewhere? On like one of your separate windows?
No.
Because I have my stream open on YouTube, and that's why it counts me.
No, mine's just on the thing. Oh, okay, so maybe there is one solid watcher.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I don't know who they are, but they've stuck with us for the whole show. Ever since it's been on that, it's not flicked off that. It's just flicked off now. But since the science part, it's now flicked back. Since the science part of the show, that is also humbling and cool as well. To have somebody who stuck with us for like it must have been an hour into the show we talked about science. So for an hour and a half, over an hour and a half now, stuck with us. Show's always on 2 and 3/4 hours. I haven't got any comments from anybody today.
That's probably because Andy's not on. Andy normally comments, but he's not here.
Yeah, Andy and Kersico, yeah. We're going to try and have Andy on the show, but unfortunately he's got work at 5 AM, so as you can imagine, it's now 2 minutes to 11 here, so if you've got work at 5 AM, which means you probably have to wake up at 4 AM, doing a podcast until 11 is probably not the best idea if you want to actually be awake at work.
Yeah, but we'll try. We might be able to get him on next week.
Yeah, hopefully. I know because I had a massive intro ready for him to try and to do that thing where you hype up somebody, and I know for a fact Marcus thinks my Michael Buffer impression is really shit, but that's kind of the point.
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, well, it was going to be a really epic. It's going to be like the Host Pro equivalent of an epic intro, and it would have been really. I would have liked to have done that just to see the look at his face when he finally goes, "Yeah, it's me," and it's just. Because I was also going to do the Scott Steiner thing, because I was going to say mesmerizing. I was going to say with the mesmerized, whatever it was he said. I have to re-watch what Scott Steiner said now, so I can say it.
Yeah, it was mesmerized.
Yeah, mesmerized, wasn't it? That's it. I love that. They're all mesmerized by my body, or whatever it was. I watched the Scott Stein workout video as well. That's funny.
Oh yeah, you got around to watch it. Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it?
Oh, that's really funny. Your back can never be too big. Yeah, when you gotta work through the pain and see your body grow. It's like, oh, it's like that's so unprofessional. They all say if you've got pains, you're probably doing it wrong. So, no, if you're feeling pain, that's good. You want to be feeling more pain. Work through it. It's like, no.
Well, you can't fault him. I mean, he's got a very good body. But
I know.
That just seems like a lot of work.
Your back can never be too big. I love that.
I might just train exclusively nothing but my back now.
You want to have peaks on your peaks.
If I just train nothing but my back muscles, and I'll just see how big just my back can get, not the rest of me, just my entire back.
We should so do a topic about Scott Steiner one day.
That could be a good one. But we've already got 2 topics for next week anyway, so that's a start. And then I'm sure we'll find some more during the week.
I have to write them down immediately after the show, so I don't forget them, because that will happen if I don't. But I think that's about it for episode 7. I believe so.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got nothing more. I don't suppose you have.
Nope, nothing jumps to mind anyway. Nothing immediate.
Alrighty then. So yeah. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Please remember to hit like and subscribe. You know, the usual thing that YouTubers tell you to do. But it does help us out, and it helps out small channels like me immensely, because every single one of your likes and subscribe is like a drop in a petri dish, not like a teardrop in an ocean. So you know. So if you can hit like and subscribe, that'd be awesome. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show.